Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Transatlantic Call-In Show. I'm Luxander Moss. Today, I'm joined by Riverboat Jack. Today is, what is it today? Today is May 7th, 12,026. I'm getting on that Holocene calendar, by the way. I'm going to push it on everybody. I think it makes way more sense, and I will not be taking questions at this time. Anyway, how are you doing, Jack? It's been a couple weeks since I've seen you.
I'm doing great. Just slammed a burrito and finally got over being sick. So I have my voice mostly like 99% back. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm living, I'm thriving. I'm ready to throw down or provide helpful advice. I'm here. I'm queer. Let's do this.
You're sliving, as the kids
Sliving.
say.
Is that what the kids say? Because you could genuinely be making that up and I would have no idea.
Oh, it's like a Paris Hilton thing. Like it's like slaying and living at the same time, sliving. So I don't know. It's just one of
Sliving.
those dumb fucking things that I picked up through the osmosis of the internet and everything. Welcome to the show. If it's your first time here, hit the like button. If it's not your first time here, also hit the like button because it's quick, it's easy, it's free. It's the best way to get us in the algorithm as we start the show. This is a call-in show. We're trans and we're taking calls on the topic of trans. So if you want to get in here, 720-619-2288 is the number. If you want to give a $5 or more super chat, we read those out at the end. We have a little fun competition. We'll talk about that more as we get into the show. Um, yeah. What kind of topics are you interested in getting to today?
I mean, I'd like to take any calls on like I don't know if you think trans people aren't valid or if you're like one of these people who's like I support Sebastian Gorka and trans people are the number one threat to national security. I would love for you to call in because I genuinely want to know what makes you tick.
Yeah, truly. With that, we've got a poll from last week. No, 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 we don't actually have a poll from last week. We have a poll from 2 weeks ago because apparently we didn't have a TACIS last week. So let's talk about that. And then we will briefly talk about our next poll, which you'll be able to vote on in the comments. But 2 weeks ago, we asked you the question: should kids' TV shows and movies with transgender characters be rated PG or above? Unsurprisingly for our audience, most of you said no. I actually didn't read the comments to see what people were saying yes about. I mean, but obviously, like many of our polls only get viewed by our personal, like our own audience that already exists and agrees with us on things. And there, that 8% could easily just be like the small percentage of breakout in the algorithm where the post was seen outside of our subscriber base. But yeah, do you have any opinions on this one?
I mean, it seems to me that if you single out a group of people where like their mere presence or mentioning them makes it inappropriate for children, I think that that's really weird and gross and just overt bigotry. Like
Yeah.
just full stop. Like trans people exist, and we're just going to like the grocery store like anybody else. We're just like paying rent. We're going doing our jobs. Like kids and media should reflect that normal people exist, and trans people are normal people, actually.
Yeah. That's the thing is like there's this presumption that trans people are, by dressing as the opposite gender, we are engaging in a sexual fetish and therefore we're trying to loop other people into our sexual fetish. Um, and therefore inherently it's inappropriate because there's apparently no way to talk about trans people and explain our existence without talking about sex, which I mean it is very similar to this idea that like, oh, how am I going to explain gay people to my children? Like, I'm sorry, you're not able to like imagine what it was like to be 5 years old and you learned about mommies and daddies. You cannot, you're not capable. This is what I think being a teacher, because people have always told me I should be a teacher because I'm just like a good communicator, I think. But I think truly to be a good teacher, you have to be able to distill an idea down to its simplest form and in order to like communicate the basic concept and then build on that, as you get into more complex topics. And this is like, okay, drag. Oh my God, how are children ever going to understand the concept of playing dress up? Like, what are we going to do? Oh my God. Like, are you seriously? Yeah, I think a lot of these folks are just fully incapable of grasping the basic concepts of like mommies and daddies and kids and like kids holding hands or parents holding hands as and that like as an analog for explaining kind of romantic interest in one another. Um,
Well,
yeah,
it's kind of like the, maybe you remember this, maybe you don't. I don't know how old you are. I think you're younger than me.
I'm 32.
Oh, just only a little bit younger than me. Um, but like when we were growing up, I remember that conservatives were really, really concerned about how are the children out of gay and lesbian homes ever going to understand the world because it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. That will
Yeah,
confuse them, and it's just like actually no, children are actually pretty like they get it. It's like daddy and daddy. Okay.
yeah.
Actually that's totally easy and fine to wrap my head around. It's not difficult.
No. The only thing is, and I was just talking to my chat about this last night. I do like just chill hangout streams for my show. And I like realized I was like, I actually think if I was a parent, I would want to be dad, which is, maybe a potential conflict because my partner is a cis male who I assume would be dad. And I know some queer couples would be like, one of them's dad and one of them's papa. And I'm like, I don't like that. Like, I don't want to be papa. Um, and people in the chat were like, no, no, no. Like, it's like maybe slightly difficult to differentiate in some situations. I'm like the utility of mom and dad being different words is that you can clearly be pointing to one or the other. But I think that people figure it out,
Yeah.
I think that the person who it's going to be weirdest for is going to be the teachers, who are like, why am I calling you dad? And I'm like, listen, don't even. But yeah, point being, it's really easy for kids to understand these things. It's not really that difficult. And like, illustrated by that example of the teachers just now, it's the adults around those children that make it into a big deal and blow out of proportion and make it seem like it's all confusing when children are just like, no, we figured it out. It's pretty simple. We're playing dress up or there's two mommies. Like, okay, cool. Great. Anyway, so that's our poll from 2 weeks ago. We are going to briefly just lay out with a poll for this week. There will be an option for you to vote in the current live chat going right now. And then also, if you want to go to the post page on our channel, you can elaborate in the comments what your answer is. Do you think this show, TACIS, will be targeted by the administration's current focus on violent left wing transgender extremists? I was on the road driving 5,000 miles this week, so I have no idea what happened. We'll discuss it later. Um, Make sure to get your votes in the chat, though. If you think that are we doing terrorism here? I don't know. Like, what an absurd question. I'm sitting at my desk talking to people. Well, anyway, let's take a look
Well,
at.
you're doing it with gender ideology.
I know. I know.
Dastardly.
I'm the non-binary, the newest supervillain. I got Colin Studio almost all the way open, not all the way open. Okay, cool. It looks like we have a couple of advice calls that have come in. I'm like, let's maybe wait a second. Let's sit on a second and see if we can get some spice going in the calls. So we are on the vertical stream as well today. So if you're seeing us on vertical, definitely hit the like button. Also, y'all, if you click the share button and then it pops up a little thing and there's a blue button that says copy. And if you just do that, that counts as far as YouTube is concerned for like metrics. I would love it if you copy pasted that link on your social media and like shared it, but you don't have to as far as YouTube is concerned. So if you want to go to the extra mile, that's cool. But basically just press the screen as many times as you can. Let's share it to your dad, your transphobic dad. We want to talk to the dads in the chat
and
today.
and maybe, depending on the kind of family you come from, your transphobic dad and your other transphobic dad, because, we live in a
Hey,
complicated world.
so true. Gay people not immune from transphobia. Wouldn't that be so crazy? Being in a family of two gay dads who are like, I'm gonna kick you out because you're trans. Like that would be crazy. Oh, that seems wild. Well, what else you got going on? What have you been working on your channel recently?
Oh, we've been like I went over last night. I went over like the California governor debate.
Mm,
Talked about the downfall of the Daily Wire.
Okay.
They genuinely have been cratering in a way that is crazy. Did you know that they have a Daily Wire news channel that has like 160,000 some subscribers, and the most recent news clips that they've uploaded to it get like below 200 views a pop. It's genuinely crazy.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so bad. That's so much worse than I was anticipating.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I
And
wonder what's going on with the conservatives right now.
even their main channel right now, their main channel, they have like a bunch of like half-assed documentary like trailers, and each one is like only in like the low 10,000s, you know? Like they're not doing very good. And that's a channel
Wow.
with millions of subscribers. Like, damn.
Yeah, that's wild. I it's gratifying to hear, but every piece of good news, I'm like, what what is underlying this? Like what other thing is hiding under this good news that I'm gonna be regretful about hearing later on? Um, like, oh, it gets bought up by some even worse company, or like, oh, the Trump administration decides to make that like a public news channel in order to prevent it from bottoming out. Like, we're still gonna fund public news channels or public television. We're just gonna do it in the worst possible way imaginable. Um,
Yeah, I
just
mean, it seems like the damage has kind of been done. They fired like half their staff. Like
okay.
they are hurting. And I don't know if it's because like the Hungarian money like dried up or like what, but
Mm.
it's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah, we love to hear it, especially with like if the line is doing better over time, which it feels like we are. Like even our slump season, I felt like January and February we did pretty well this year, and we're just like keeping growing and stuff. It's an election year. We're going to be pushing out more and more content, so
Hell
it
yeah.
feels good to be part of a leftist progressive organization that's getting bigger. And like I had no idea that this was happening with the Daily Wire, so it does feel like a sort of subtle shift in like the attention economy online, if that makes any sense. Like
Oh
that
yeah.
these right wingers are not getting away with the most violent rhetoric possible and making more and more and more money off of it. I wonder if that's like, yeah, if YouTube is actually tweaking them in the algorithm, that would
I
be
I
something.
think I think it's because they were routinely buying views. I think that they were
Ah.
using a massive amount of ad money
So it's
to like
inflated. Hmm.
yeah, to massively inflate their views and get in the algorithm that way.
Hmm.
And that money is just gone. Maybe because they blew so much money on that like King Arthur, the Merlin show, the Pendragon cycle or whatever it was
That's
called, that
crazy.
they wanted to be like a Game of Thrones killer. Um, the other part was I did respond to his most recent video on socialism, which
Okay.
only had like 90K views on his personal channel of where he has 7 million subscribers. And like that's kind of like a bread and butter content for Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
So my hope is that that video can ratio Ben Shapiro. So go help that video do well when it gets put up on my channel. Okay, folks?
Yeah. Hell yeah. Cool. Well, I think we have one call that might be somewhat interesting before we get to those advice calls later in the show. So let's talk to Cameron, he, him pronouns from North Carolina. Cameron, you are live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
Doing okay so far. It's a new show, so it's yet to be seen whether somebody gets on my nerves today. But your question is about mind-body dualism. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I'm sure you're familiar with Rene Descartes, the French philosopher, on his mind-body dualism. Uh, More formally, just as we describe the cogito, or the I think, therefore I am, um, support for rationality, and it intends to support the mind as having a primacy over matter, or at least that mind is separate from matter. Um, as far as in relation with the trans identity, it seems that a conflict of almost like the ship of Theseus type of where, like, the boundaries of where the idea and the matter that extends that idea, where that boundary is drawn. Where do you think, as far as when it comes to transhumanism in general, modifications to the human body or the human soul or spirit or any such, if you will, where does the mind and body distinction take place?
Well, I mean, I come from like the skeptic perspective of like things need to be proven effectively before I'll believe in them. So like I do agree that the mind is an emergent property of a biological system. Like once a biological system gets complex enough, particularly if there's like a brain involved, then the mind is just kind of like a thing that happens. It's okay. It's like electromagnetism. Like if you get a certain amount of electricity running through a particular direction, that's going to create a magnetic field, like just by virtue of like what it is. And so I think that if you have meat suits running on electricity and all of our brain activity is happening via electricity, like electrical signals, and we can use electrical signals to stimulate the body to do things when it's dead, then it seems like the mind is just like a function of a brain that that's complicated enough. And in particular, our brains are complicated most likely because we developed as a highly social species. And that has led us to have like a more complex brain. So like I know that Rene Descartes is kind of like he kind of describes them as different substances, like that the mind is a substance that is separate from the body. But in my view, I've never seen a functional mind that is distinct from a body. So I don't see that as like separate. It's just part of the biological meat suit that you got going on.
Okay. I would just ask, as far as like because there is quite a astounding overlap between some of the philosophy of transhumanism and trans identity as far as sexual or gender identity is concerned. And it seems as though there's, again, a crossover where it becomes a very indistinct kind of point in which, you know, have you, I mean, as is maybe stated, trans women are women. That statement in of itself attempts to, if not equivocate, but to create some sort of tautology between those two statements as identical statements. Linguistically, when trans women are ultimately referred to as women, is when, you know, that transition, or linguistically, when that transition is present. Up until then, it is simply just a rationalism to say trans women are women. It's very hard to make the argument, you know, as far as on the physical level, like after a certain amount of body modification, of course, you know, that is the requisite, you know, point in which you would distinguish the two. But I'm curious what you think on, again, where that transition point, if not after a physical body modification, how is that identity distinguished?
Well, so I just want to say, like, does the statement, like, tall women are women make sense to you?
I mean, it seems to be totally coherent. Absolutely.
Yeah, trans women are women is equally coherent. And we're talking about belonging within a social group that is socially constructed. It's not even necessarily related to like any kind of physical transition. It's more related to like identification in that group, right? And I guess just going back to your initial question, for me, for my part, I don't really see there being a mind body distinction. Like the mind is an extension of the body or a part of the body, and when we modify our minds are also take that into account. You can see this with people who have like artificial limbs, for example. Like the way they interact with that limb changes. Their brains have a different way of interacting with that. So, to a degree, like transhumanism to me is largely just the same thing human beings have always done. It's just we take tools, we make use of them, and that tool use changes how we interact with, perceive the world, perceive ourselves, changes our minds, right? And uh, when it comes to trans people belonging in the groups that they identify with, it's because their identity is of that group socially. And so to me, there's not really a difficulty in saying like trans women are women even without any kind of physical act of transition. Um, so I guess that's where that all takes me. I'm interested in your thoughts.
I just, I guess maybe it seems like it seems like you're qualifying in some way when you say socially, and I agree that gender is a social construct as far as linguistics are also a social construct, and that words have meaning associated with the reference in which we describe them to. But it feels like there is a problem when you say, that the mind is a result of a physical process, a physical process in the natural world, and that physical process leads to the mind, in which that mind then comes back to that body and makes judgments on it. And that's where like if you said my appendage, my arm, my leg, it's because we take a possession of these things and we extend that, it seems, from the mind.
Sure, but so do dogs. Dogs are like, this is my toy and I don't want to share it. Like dogs also have a concept of ownership and like they understand my tail, like you've just bitten my tail. Like they seem like not every dog is smart, but like I'm just saying this is not a uniquely human experience to have a mind that is like, I want to control what I do with my body. I'm going to make decisions about like how to exist in the world with my body. Like obviously we make much more complex decisions because we have a much more complex array of social cues and technology with which to change things. But like when you say there's a problem with the idea that the brain is physical, like are you unfamiliar with the entire whole like traumatic brain injuries changing people's personalities? Like I was just reading a gnarly podcast or listening to a gnarly podcast about the killer who inspired Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. And like that, when he was a child, he suffered brain damage that changed his personality completely. Like it turned him into the person who would then become a serial killer, So like the idea that the mind is separate from the body, but we can tweak things about the mind by inflicting damage on the brain. Like, why would damaging the brain change the mind if they're not literally the same thing?
And I guess the thing I would add just really quick is if you can demonstrate a mind without a brain, without any kind of
Hardware.
physical hardware, like I would be intensely interested in that. I have never seen that. I've never seen evidence displayed of that. But if you have evidence of it, I'm all ears.
Oh no, I mean I absolutely. I mean I support the modern, biological paradigm as it exists. Again, much of my concern or questions that I have are of the philosophical sort, rather than the physical one. Like I'm curious on how to associate the claims that are being made to the not even necessarily observations, because again I'm far less concerned about what demonstrations of one's commitment, let's say, to transition, as far as that being the standard for which we describe where someone's identity is drawn. I'm more or less asking, where one draws the line between, again, like their identity being a concrete thing that, like when people say, be your true self, where does your true self lie? Where can we find your true self? At the core of what being, or where can it be identified? Because, just probing it with questions, or, along the lines of biology, sometimes we get very conflicting answers, and especially anecdotally, we get very conflicting answers.
Well, I mean, the only person who can really determine one's identity is one's own self. Like, I don't know what's going on in your heart. I don't know if you're gay or straight or trans. I have no idea. Just by talking to you, you're the only one who knows that, and you're the only one who can then communicate that identity to other people. So, like, when it comes to where do you discover your identity, it's in contemplation. It's in thinking about it and examining your desires, what you identify with, etc. In the same way that, straight people typically almost intuitively grasp that, hey, I have a crush. Like, if you're a straight man and you're like, or straight boy, you're like, 5, you're like, I have a crush on a girl. It just happens. It just, like, that's something you experience. And then you take kind of this tapestry of experiences that you have, and you, like, try and fit it in with the different social categories that we have constructed as a society. And then we go from there. And it's all messy. There's not necessarily super clear-cut answers all the time, but life is messy.
Like,
maybe that's the divide.
I want to ask a
would
clarifying
say.
question, Cameron. Cameron, real quick, I just want to ask a clarifying question. Do you find it
Sure.
epistemically challenging that we can't identify what part of the brain makes a person prefer vanilla ice cream over chocolate ice cream?
I have no qualms. I mean, I think that that's a demonstration of human behavior when people say, I prefer vanilla over chocolate.
Yeah.
It's a
Well, maybe
demonstration of
you're
all
coming
of
at this
the
from an
possibilities
outside
that humans-
perspective, so I can understand you not understanding, but like being transgender is like a complex web of preferences, basically. I mean, preferences to the extent that like maybe chocolate ice cream actually makes you want to vomit, and vanilla ice cream is, you're like, this is my jam, right? Like, there are people who actually physically dislike chocolate, especially American chocolate. So like being transgender, it's not like we can locate the part of the brain that makes you trans, because there's a lot of different like societal things that seem to go into it, that like maybe certain parts of your body, you have like a brain body map distinction where you're like, I have phantom limb around like the genitals, because that can happen sometimes, in the way that people who are born without limbs can have phantom limb. So there's like things that range all the way from that to preferring to have long hair or short hair, or preferring to shave your legs or not, like, and that those things have been ascribed a gender in our society. So it's like we would not be able to point to one part of the brain that makes people trans. We would only be able to do what we do for ice cream flavors, which is we can observe that the pleasure centers of the brain light up when you're eating vanilla ice cream. We could observe that probably similar parts of the brain that are like associated with positivity would be lighting up for a trans person's brain when they are being treated the way that they want to be treated, or when they have access to the care, when they start to feel congruent with their body after treatment or whatever. So yeah, I guess I'm not sure where you're running into this problem of like, if we can't find the
It's
trans
no
part of the
problem.
brain, then why could we say it's biological?
I think that the main problem, again, like I said, it's very much philosophical, because I think that it is seeming to ground that all of that in a very much physical process. And again, I have no problem with the fact that science has yet to
Yeah, there's growing
explain
research
and
on this. If you want to look into something
I
on this,
understand the
Cameron,
limitation.
I can show you like an area of study that we are looking at. I know one trans person on YouTube is, I don't know if he's finished, but he was doing his dissertation and his PhD on looking into the potential idea that people's brains develop so brains develop later than your genitals, for example. When you are when your mom is pregnant with you, your brain is one of the last things. So there is like a growing interest in the idea that if you are exposed to a different kind of sex hormone when your brain is developing. So, like, my mother had PCOS. So it's likely that I was exposed to a higher level of testosterone during the brain development part of the pregnancy, which could give people's brains a different the brain body map. Again, like, you're born with the idea that you have two arms and two legs because like that's how we evolved, and you're just kind of born with that expectation. And if that expectation is not fulfilled, then there is a dissonance. And it seems like there's a pretty good area of study here that we could look into that would show, because where else is it coming from? Where else could it possibly be coming from? The feeling of distress, or the feeling of ease and congruence once you've achieved the level of transition that you're trying to achieve. Like, clearly it's not a thing that people are choosing, because there's a lot of suffering involved, and people don't typically choose to suffer for no reason. So it's coming from somewhere, and we don't have solid evidence yet, and it's kind of hard to study brains in this way. But like, where else could it possibly be coming from? Do you think that this is completely elective, that people are just choosing this for no reason, and that
Absolutely
nothing that's
not.
happening in their brains could be explained biologically?
No, and I appreciate everything you included. Again, I feel like maybe my point has been missed, but I still seem to have this concern that we're missing the point in which we draw the line, in which, like, the body in which has led to the mind we have is in fact what led to the circumstance in the first place. And so to maybe round this in some way, it seems like there's an attempt to change the mind through changing the body, as far as curing, if you will, curing dysphoria, gender dysphoria. By modifying the body, it is an attempt to treat the mind.
Would it surprise you to hear that we've tried all of the other things that you could possibly propose? Go ahead, Jack.
Well, I was just going to say that's all medical treatment, essentially. Like, almost all of it. Like, you if someone is in mental distress because they feel like they're having a heart attack, and it's because they have like a blockage in their heart, we remove the blockage, and that removes the stress. Like, it's not trans, like, modifications to the body are not unique to trans healthcare. It's just a part of all healthcare, right? Like, so I guess I'm failing to see the distinction that makes intervention in the case of trans people unique or different.
We've also tried all the other things, by the way. Like we've tried like, would you like to be in therapy and just try to accept the way that you were born and do exposure therapy and acceptance therapy? Would you like to be on antipsychotic medication? Would you like to be on antidepressants? So it turns out we've tried all of these things. And the best way to treat trans people is to allow them to have access to transition care to the extent that they want it. And it seems like going through all the other things is like a waste of money and a waste of time and doesn't improve patient outcomes. So if we're focused on improving patient outcomes, why would we continue operating in modalities that do not improve patient outcomes?
Right, and I actually wholly agree with that methodology as far as treatment, as far as a just I mean, it really is the one that has shown the best results, and I don't doubt that. Again, and maybe it is because my mind is so fixated on where these delineations of identity distinction are drawn. That's where I think I see the biggest conflict is that there's an attempt to ground the idea of being, the wrong gender. That's manifested onto the body, and then that body is then the problem. And that
this is the problem with thinking that the
solved.
brain is separate from the body. The brain informs everything that's happening in my body. Sorry, go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, like your brain and how you perceive the world and how your brain physically functions, and by extension your mind functions, is informed by and altered by your body, right? Like if you wake up tomorrow and you're missing a limb, that changes physically how your mind works, how your brain functions, and by extension your mind. And so like that experiential difference does change you, right? So like I think the problem is that you're looking for definitive delineations here, and there's just identity is more of a haze than that. Like for different individuals, it's going to be different. And for some, it is going to be incredibly clear cut. I am this. For others, it's not going to be as clear cut. And they're going to have to like ask themselves some questions and like figure that out and navigate, instead of what is a clear binary, instead navigate a spectrum, right? And that's going to be different for each person. We don't know why it's necessarily different. We just know that it is, that individual experiences differ in this way. And so in like research, of course, will continue, but we might not ever have that answer in our lifetimes. And the simple reality is shit's messy. Like we live in these flesh suits. We have experiences based on them, and our moment to moment experience is like a set of electricity and chemicals in our brain filtered through the meat that we inhabit. And like that's weird, and it's messy, and sometimes like we have to be kind of okay with the fact that it's going to be weird and messy, because I don't think, like most things, it's not necessarily as clear cut as you might want it to be. And you know what, for the record, I think a lot of trans people would appreciate if it was a clearer cut situation as well, but like our lived experience kind of indicates it's messy. It's messy as hell. And I think a lot of like psychologists, a lot of therapists can also attest that the human experience is rarely straightforward and is often incredibly messy.
Okay, I'll end with this, and it simply is. I mean, then is the mind itself accidental?
Nothing that has ever evolved has been purposeful until human beings started genetically modifying plants and animals to produce more food. Like the mind is an accident in the same way that fingernails are an accident, in which case like there were selective pressures that made it useful to have.
Yeah, I mean, I would describe it as like an emergent property of life, a very rare and precious thing to occur in a deeply random universe. Um, and pretty incredible and amazing, but I don't attribute purpose to the mere act of existence, or intentionality to the mere act of existence. Um, so I think that like that might also be coloring the conversation in a way that might not that might be preventing us from arriving at like a shared idea of what we're talking about here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that all of mental processes, even the ones that we may find distressing, such as suffering or stress or anxiety or depression, that these are the natural responses of the natural brain, and they have consequence on the mind. And not that they are necessarily distinct, but it's that there are at least some referent that exists, um, that can be described externally from the mind. I don't think
this idea that like because you describe the brain and the mind, when I say the mind, what I'm talking about is our experience, our kind of like, you know, line of experience, our moment to moment experience, which is an emergent property of the chemical reactions and electricity and interactions in the body of the brain, right? Like it's not like a separate thing. It is an emergent property of a thing. And so I think that like this trying to separate the mind from the brain is maybe causing some problems for this conversation, because like they're not separate
it
things. They
doesn't.
are
The
intrinsically
problem doesn't
related.
start with the problem doesn't start with matter, though. As much as it conveniences the, and again, I have a background in science as well, and as you know, and as it's pretty well accepted. I mean, again, as I brought up in the very beginning with the Cartesian distinction, it seems like the mind began, and even that idea I think is flawed. That to even think of the mind as separate from body. My argument, if I make anything clear in any of the discussion we've had, is that the mind and body are one and the same, and that they cannot be separated. And so to try to say that there's such a thing as emergence, again, it seems to subvert the idea that the mind comes from the physical brain. And so if the brain, like I mentioned also in the beginning, the ship of Theseus, how many brain cells would it take for one to lose until their brain is fundamentally different to where, the mind is altered? And, of course, we've seen cases of Phineas Cage or many other instances where, yes, the alterations to brain matter do seem to maybe present changes in the mind. I simply push back on the idea that those can be, at least like, I understand there was many experiments and lobotomies and things that, of course, like I said, it's very clear that the mind or the brain has something to do with the mind. I think the problem is to try to orient or to try to place the origin in the mind or in the brain, in the physical existence, the material brain, and to say that that is actually the root source of all being. Otherwise, we fall into some sort of solipsism. It and it just doesn't seem to be coherent other than to say that the mind and body are one and the same.
Yeah, I guess I'm confused because we're not making the argument that the mind is separate. Like the argument that we've both made is basically that the brain has like an operational function that we interpret as our mind and our ego and stuff. So but I guess I'm confused as to why you're like the mind and the body are the same, and also you have expressed that you take issue with the idea that these things are happening in the brain. So I don't know, but maybe we can pick this up another time and think on it a little bit more, and we can maybe get to the heart of the issue in a future call, because we do have a couple other callers waiting. But I appreciate your time, Cameron. Appreciate your call, and we'll talk to you again sometime.
Bye.
Sure.
Bye.
I appreciate your patience. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Let's do some announcements really quick before we talk about the poll for this week. We do have a couple callers. I'm looking at taking John next. Don't hang up. I would like to talk to you next. But I'm just going to do a couple quick announcements for the show. So, y'all know we have a partnership with Recovering from Religion here at The Line. We like to support the work that they do. We get deconstructing callers all the time who we direct to RFR because RFR does great work. They have a chat line available for folks who are deconstructing. I believe that they also have like a bunch of therapists that they could refer folks to who are specifically secular therapists who can help with those deconversion, deconstruction type things going on. So if you want to help us in supporting RFR, we are going to be doing our mega fundraiser Saturday, May 16th. There's going to be a starting goal of $80,000. So if you donate through that, there's going to be like a special link available. You'll be able to contribute to Recovering from Religion. They're a nonprofit organization. This is a wonderful graphic. Recovering from Religion heals your religious trauma. So the event is posted already on our channel. You can go donate right now if you'd like. Some of our hosts are also going to be doing events leading up into it, where they'll be directing y'all to donate as well. So support RFR. Help us do the good work of assisting folks in their deconstruction. And I'm also going to let you know about some other shows that we've got going on. That is where my schedule is. Keep the tab open all the time. You never lose stuff is how it works.
Yep.
So today is May 7th, 2026, and we don't have any shows this weekend, I don't think. It looks like we do not have the Evangelicals on Saturday. But then Sunday, that's when our week starts. That's when the things get going. So we've got the Sunday show with Matt and allegedly Ian in the afternoon, followed by a Calling It Now show, which is going to roll right into the Sunday show After Dark with Forrest and Owen. Always a great combo. On Skeptalk on Monday, we've got Forrest and question mark. I don't know who's going to be there. Then Chewed Gum on Tuesday with Taylor and Sarah. Leaving Faith is going to be on there, Dr. Sarah, which is going to be cool. And then that brings us around to the Hang Up next week with Matt Dillahunty and Fish Stark. And then Ben and myself on TACIS next week on Thursday. So make sure you have your notifications turned on or you're tuning in, because we also have Calling It Now throughout the week and all that kind of jazz. So just make sure you're staying up to date. We will eventually have a published calendar where y'all can see beyond just like the next week of shows, because you can see the next week of shows on the channel usually. So eventually we'll have some cool stuff like that. But for now, you just have to rely on the announcements during this. So with that, let's touch on our poll from this week, and then we'll go back into taking calls. John, we're going to be talking to you next, so don't hang up. This week, we are asking, do you think TACIS, this show, will be targeted by the current administration's focus on, quote, violent left-wing transgender extremists? You know what this article was. I didn't see this article. What are we doing? What are we talking about?
Oh, yeah. Sebastian Gorka was talking about how who weirdly is in charge of things in our government right now, was talking about investigating terrorism that includes transgender extremism.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some wackadoo nonsense, I gotta be honest with you. Like it's he's the head of the counterterrorism strategy for the US government right now, and he thinks that the number one threat to America is violent left-wing extremists and their extremist transgender ideology. So Yeah, there's just no data or facts behind this. It's just dude who with a funny voice comes out and says trans people are the number one issue in America. And I don't think even Republicans believe that. Like, I know the bigots will say that they believe that, but at the end of the day, I don't think they go home and they're like, yeah, trans people, the number one threat against America.
Yeah. So is this just like there was that leaked memo late last year, I think it was, that was like transgender ideology is going to be considered as an extremist group. So is this just basically now they're saying it as part of their rhetoric? There's no policy change yet, but they're like talking about it.
Yeah, basically, they released their counterterrorism strategy
Mm.
today, and they were, or yesterday rather, and they
Mhm.
were like, number one domestic terror threats, violent left-wing extremists, narco terrorists, Islamist terrorists, and
Mhm.
extremist transgender ideology.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and they just said the non-binary, right? Is that was a quote that Arden pulled from the article? It's like
Yeah.
that's why I'm like the non-binary is my. It's like a superhero, anti-hero slash supervillain name. Uh, I guess I'm clued into superhero stuff because I've been like reading and watching Invincible a bunch recently.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? Like hell yeah. Actually, also the fact that they used a Slayer song in episode 4 of the most recent season, I'm like, oh, that's actually what I need to listen to when I'm working out. So today I worked out and I just put on a Slayer playlist, and I have never listened to metal in my life, but I was like, yeah, thrasher metal. This is this is like keeping things going while I'm trying to work out. Um, Anyway, yeah. We see a threat, we will respond to it, and we will crush it. Whether it is the cartels, the jihadists, or violent left-wing extremists like Antifa and like the transgender killers, the non-binary, the left-wing radicals who killed my friend Charlie Kirk, we will take them on head on, says the senior director for counterterrorism, Sebastian Gorka. Uh,
There's
yeah,
another
so
quote later on where he says, our national counterterrorism activities will prioritize the rapid identification and neutralization of violent secular political groups whose ideology is anti-American, radically pro-gender, or anarchist, such as Antifa. Like,
interesting.
what does it mean to be radically pro-gender? Like, I don't.
It's like,
Are they
is it like
going
people who
after
are
the?
like, is it like when folks are like, listen, I think that abortion is an essential medical service. I'm not pro-abortion. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm pro-abortion though. So is there like an in-between where you're like, yeah, I accept that gender is like a necessary thing in the world, but I can't say I'm pro-gender. That's going too far. Like, I don't know
I
what the
feel like
fuck
the
is
only
happening.
people who are pro-gender are like the people who are virulently bigoted against transgender people. Like
I was just gonna
they're like,
say, trad wives
no,
are
Yeah.
cooked.
yeah,
True, true.
you can only have gender this way.
Yeah, we're gonna take away your trade job. Those anytime a man posts one of those pictures of his fucked up hands and he's like, my hands look like this, so hers can look all delicate. Like you're not allowed to do that anymore. It's outlawed. You
You're being
can't
pro-gender.
Yeah. That's too pro-gender. You're taking pictures of your manly hands, and those people are also really stupid because it's like your hands are the tools that you use to get the job done. So why are you not taking care of your anyway? We're getting on a tangent at that point. But anyway, uh, you can vote on this in the posts page on our channel, and you can elaborate in the comments. Because I think this one is going to be a little bit less black and white, right? Like y'all, like, do you think that the line will be targeted? Obviously they always caveat. They say, we're focused on online groups that are specifically inciting violence against innocent individuals. And obviously we as an organization do not incite violence against anybody. I really don't know of many organizations that are calling for violence. Like maybe some individuals are being edgy. Do you remember DICE's Scum back in the day, Riverboat Jack?
Oh, vaguely.
It was years ago, but it's like, yeah, okay, maybe some edgy punks are like having this rhetoric, but they're not actually doing anything. So I'm like, who are you going to actually come after if we are very explicitly like we're trying to get people to vote? That's the thing. We're trying to get people to like peacefully protest. We're not sitting out here going like Molotov cocktails everywhere, like let's get some bread, whatever. I don't know. Like that's not what we're about.
I gotta be honest, like it really seems like they want to go after, like, the most violent rhetoric I have heard has been from like, you know, the kindly liberal wine moms who show up on No King's Day because they're not online enough to realize you're not supposed to say
Yeah.
like certain things, and they're just out in the streets. They're like, yes, the blood will run like the wine of the French
Yeah.
Revolution. Like it's like, oh my God, calm down.
Yeah, legitimately. They are the fun. It's like Jane Fonda on The View or whatever. And she was like, she basically was like, no, we're going to use violence to defend our abortion rights. And everybody was like, she's joking. She's joking. And Jane Fonda was like, girl, no, I'm not. She's been out here. You know, we appreciate the veteran feminists in the movement. But with all that, thanks y'all for watching. Hit the like button if you haven't already. We are going to take our next caller. John, he, him pronouns from Arizona. John, you are live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Living the dream. So you say you don't think that gender is a social construct, and neither is race. They're biological realities. Can you elaborate for us?
Yeah, this is all my personal opinion. As far as I don't know if you want to talk about race or gender, but race. I believe in evolution, and people left Africa about 100,000 years ago into Europe, into Asia, all over the world. So that's how races came to be. So that's why that's not socially constructed. As far as gender goes, I believe there are rare exceptions of intersex, but when I was born, the doctor said it's a boy, and there's a male and female, and male and female is gender is predicated on male and female anatomy. So that's what my view is. And, I hear you all talking about, like I said, this is all my personal opinion, but, I hear you talk about deconstruction. Well, this is postmodernism. This is Derrida. And then also, too, Foucault was another influential postmodernist. And I think the political left is subverting Western civilization.
I'm going to pause you for a second because I want to address a couple of things that you've said already. So
Sure.
Race is a social construct separate from ethnicity, which I would agree with you that ethnicity is biological, like how Ashkenazi Jewish people have a really high likelihood to have like the problem with the BRCA2 gene that gives people breast and ovarian cancer, right? So there's like clearly an ethnic thing there. And like, okay, yeah, people who are of African descent have a higher likelihood to have sickle cell anemia. So there is like an ethnicity thing going on there. But the reason why we say that race is socially constructed is because I, as a white person, have no idea what my ethnicity is because America deliberately deconstructed white ethnicities and created the white race. Like there was a famous example of an Asian man who sued to be considered white because he was a property owner and like he was basically trying to get the right to vote. So yeah, and like there is a distinction there where like, black people, okay, well, are they from South Africa? Are they Jamaican? Like where are they from, like Northern Africa? Like where are they from? That's an entire continent of a bunch of different ethnicities, a bunch of different groups with their own like cultures and distinct, biomarkers and stuff. But we in America have watered all that down to just say they're black. And that is a separate social construction that is independent of their racial background, right? In the way that, like, in my mind, growing up, Jewish people are white. But that's before I learned about anti-Semitism and that they are a racially separate group in that way where like they're stigmatized, like the biological features that they share, like curly hair and big noses, are stigmatized. But I just thought that they were white. So like whiteness is a separate construction that has nothing to do with biological reality.
Well, I guess I would just say that whether I say race or ancestry or ethnicity, I'm using these as synonyms, and ethnicity.
But they are different. You're using them incorrectly. If you're conflating race and ethnicity, you are using the words incorrectly. It's like a rectangle square situation.
Well, I just think that race would be a cluster of ethnicities, right?
Well, okay. So I need to step in.
How is that not a social construct?
Do you know what the history of race is?
Well, yeah. I mean, basically, what happened was, as I was saying, about humans just, I mean, I'm assuming you believe in evolution like I do, right?
No.
So
Do you know what the history of the concept of race is?
Well, a few hundred years ago, if you're referring to a Portuguese guy, the name is escaping me, but he came up with like terms like mongoloid and things like this. There was a few racial categories of like Caucasian, and is that what you're referring to? But what I was trying to explain is
No, what I'm referring to is that this is an emergent like idea that came about during the Enlightenment and then continued onward, that the idea was that human beings were of different types, of different sorts. And so there was a classification that started among like the emerging field of anthropology, right? And part of the problem was, as that kind of gained steam into the 1800s, there were also medieval concepts at play, like something called the Great Chain of Being, which you might have heard of before. And if you haven't heard of that, you might have heard of like the divine right of kings, which was based upon this idea of the Great Chain of Being, like the idea that because heaven is hierarchical, so too must things on earth, and therefore everything on earth reflects as it is in heaven. And so you have a king and you have people of different hierarchies that serve the king, etc. Well, the people who were doing anthropology at this time also believed in the Great Chain of Being applying to race. And so the entire idea of racial categories was constructed along this line. The idea being white people are at the top, and then you have different types of people based on their positions on the globe, or, different fields of this emerging race science would say based on skull shape or hair texture, etc., facial features, that they were of different categories, right? And that's when you get into what you mentioned, folks arguing that you've got like the Mongoloids and like the Europeans and the Laps, etc. You've got like a bunch of different categories that emerge out of this that are basically just kind of bullshit. And what winds up happening is that then is used as the backbone for justifying in America things like slavery, things like Jim Crow, etc. Like it's just kind of bullshit misunderstandings of science that then got codified into social systems. So when we're talking about science, the science is distinctly different from whatever race is. And anyone who studies biology would be happy to give you like an hour-long dissertation about how race is not what the biological sciences are built around, because race is just like kind of a bullshit, antiquated structure that was used to prop up some of the worst atrocities done by human beings.
Well, if I do a DNA test with like 23andMe or Ancestry.com, they're going to tell me my ethnicity, right? And we're not going to, if we look at people who are ethnically Japanese, we're not going to mistake them for African. And we're not.
That's because different ethnicities are different. Yes.
For blonde hair. Say again.
Well, different ethnicities are different. Yeah. But that's not what race is.
Okay, what do you think the relationship between race and ethnicity is?
Race is a bullshit construct built on top of a flawed understanding of the biological nature of ethnicity.
But I mean, I assume we're in agreement on evolution, right? And that different groups of people, like I was mentioning, went into Europe about 100,000 years ago, went into Asia, and you can just look at people.
We have already acknowledged that we agree that there is a biological element to ethnicity. Earlier, you said that race is clusters of ethnicities, and I challenge you to explain to me how, if we are clustering ethnicities together, how is that not a social construct? If we are putting together people because Japanese people and Chinese people and Korean people and Indian people are all Asian, but they are somewhat ethnically distinct from one another. At least they're culturally distinct from one another. And like, you know, there's like, okay, Indian people are more dark-skinned on average. So why would it be useful? And how is it not just a social thing to lump all of those people together as the race that we call Asian now, or that in the past we would have called Oriental?
There certainly can be overlap because of there's been a lot of conquering and migration in history. You know, for example, in Spain, right? The
How
Moorish
is that not a
invasion of
social
Spain.
construct? I'm asking a very specific question because we agree that ethnicity reflects a biological reality. How is it not a social construct to then slap Asian on top of those different ethnicities?
It's not because social concept. Look, I would compare this. Maybe it would make sense if I said there are different breeds of dogs. There's German Shepherds, there's Collies, there's Golden Retrievers, there's Great Danes. There's all these, and dogs all descended from wolves about 60,000 years ago. But we can just look at German Shepherds, and we know that they're German Shepherds, and their DNA is distinct. Just like we can look at Alaskan Huskies and say the same thing. But there is mixing among dogs where it might not be as clear. So you wouldn't say that dog breeds are socially constructed, would you? Or would you?
I mean, we literally made that happen, and then we put a name on it, and we selectively bred them. So yes, that is in every way socially constructed. Like, we made that happen, and we decided to do it.
Wait, so let me get that. You don't think dog breeds are biological?
I mean, it's morphology, sure. Like, but the idea that we should breed them in a certain way and call them a certain thing and breeding them for certain desirable traits, yeah, that's a social thing that we did. You can influence biology through social mechanisms, but
it's just a flawed comparison. Like, I feel like you're making this comparison because you're trying to run away from the obvious point that Lux made, that like we're socially constructing the categories of people when it comes to race.
Yeah, there's also like less biological difference between dog breeds than there is between ethnicities, because the only like the specific health issues that you get with dogs are like, we bred this one to be fucked up and it has hip dysplasia now, like because we inbred it a bunch of times. So like I don't think we see like certain dog breeds get sickle cell anemia in the way that like ethnicities do. So like that's even less distinct and more socially constructed on the dog's end. But yeah, but like, I feel like we're not answering the essence of my question, which is, how is grouping ethnicities in ways that erases the ethnic differences? How is that not a social construct? What's the biological reality of being white if we're including Ashkenazi Jews with like Anglo-Saxons?
Well, I mean, Ashkenazi Jews have, the genetic history is one of both Middle Eastern and like Southern Eastern European. Right?
So why would it be useful to lump them in with white people?
DNA, keep interrupting me. I'm trying to answer you.
You're not answering the question. Actually, that's why I'm getting frustrated.
But you see, because this is the fact that we can do. You're telling me that there is no relation. Are you telling me that there is no relationship between race and ethnicity and ancestry, or just tell me what the relationship is in your view?
Race is bullshit. Like that's the relationship. Okay, is that it's a bullshit category. No, it's a bullshit category that we made that misunderstands ethnic differences and simplifies it down for racists like you. That's it. Like, the most ethnically diverse place on the planet is Africa, and like racists in the 1800s were like, well, they're all just one race, black. Like that, it's because it's just a social construct that was made not to reflect scientific reality, but instead to like support the different social and economic movements of its time. And now you are just clutching on to this antiquated backwards idea, like the fucking idea of like the bodily humors is the result of is what causes all illness. Like, you're coming in here like touting an 1800s era idea as if it's actual modern science, and it's just not. Like, it's like you're a fucking time traveler coming with like a backwards understanding of reality, and you're gonna shit yourself the second you see a TV, my dude. Like, I just you're gonna be like, where are the tiny people inside this box? It's like
Look, it's
I want to
the
engage
reason.
with
The
you, but the
reason.
issue, no, the issue that I have is that you're running away from this point that we have made. And it seems like you're running away from it because you actually came here and were like, well, race and ethnicity are the same thing. And like, my guy, if you are a race realist, if you are someone who is clutching onto race science in the year 2026, you should probably come here with a better understanding of the terms that you use as a basic building block for your own bigotry. And like, I just want a better argument from you, my guy. I'm ready to engage with you in
Well,
a more nuanced way, but like, you got to actually like maybe come back when you know more about this topic.
oh, I can explain. Look, the reason I'm addressing this is because you all on the left. This is the problem with equity, and it's also the problem with third world immigration. You're under this delusion that
No, he's a white. He's a
races.
replacement. No, white replacement.
No,
No.
look. There are average differences in a lot of things. IQ is among one of them. Or do you
Wait,
disagree, or do you
so
think that's wrong?
are you
IQ
being
is also fake and bullshit.
are you
You're a
being
race realist.
are you being
No.
outmaneuvered right now by like the Ashkenazi Jews?
Ashkenazi Jews on average have an average IQ of 110.
Are
East
you
Asians
an
are about 100.
Ashkenazi Jewish person?
No.
So maybe you should find one that will make these arguments for you in a smarter way.
Well. I mean, there's. Are you denying that there's are you denying that there's average differences in IQ among races? Because there's not.
I just
True. I know you can't. I know you can't.
I'm sorry.
I
I can't hear you if you don't have the same level of IQ attainment as someone you are arguing is intrinsically smarter than you. I think I'll go listen to those people instead.
Well, you're not. You're dodging. It's.
I'm not. Yeah, it's your own argument that's very inconvenient for you, my guy.
You keep interrupting me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you just don't deserve basic basic decency.
How about I could just talk for a minute, not be interrupted? That'd be fair. Take as long as you want.
I mean,
I think that's fine.
You're just advancing like dumb bullshit that's fake. Like IQ, like neuroscientists do not support IQ as a measure of intelligence. So who are you talking to who gives a shit about IQ? There are so many flaws. You realize that taking an IQ test is like you are required to have a baseline level of knowledge that is culturally dependent and also dependent on like what type of education you received. It is not scientifically grounded to determine like that there's racial differences in intelligence.
Well, look, again, you all on the left, you have this delusion.
Who are you talking to who cares about IQ? I'm asking you a question, John. I'm asking you are ignoring what I just said. You're ignoring what I just said.
Shit his pants in front of everyone
It's true.
For his own dignity.
So if neuroscientists do not accept IQ as adequate evidence that there are racial differences in intelligence, who are you reading? Who are you talking to? Who are you listening to? Who prizes IQ as a means to distinguish racially based intelligence?
Charles Murray, Sam Harris, Richard Lynn.
Sam Harris is a fucking racist. That's not really helping you.
You asked me for what academic.
Of
Sam
course.
Harris is a neuroscientist, and I do.
He is a racist.
Okay, look, you're not.
Is there an organization? Is there an organization that backs IQ that I can investigate and I can tell like their biases? Because if you're like, ooh, the person I'm going to point to who's a race realist and says that IQ is big brain matters a lot. Oh, that person is a racist. Do you understand that makes a bias of their position? That means like, oh, I can't actually trust what they say because they are prejudiced against people based on race. So of course they are going to pick up any form of pseudoscience that can support their view that races are inferior or superior to one another. We do not have grounded evidence that lacks that bias.
You all on the left you believe
You
that
all on the
all
right, don't engage with the points because you can't, because
Look,
I have defeated your argument
very-
and you have nothing. You have pseudoscience and you have racism.
interrupting
Do you have
me.
something more interesting than
interrupting.
pseudoscience and racism?
You're like the
I
cowardly
just-
lion. You won't let me finish a sentence. You got to let me.
Do you
It
have
kinda-
something
It's not a fair
other than
debate.
racism
It kind
and
of seems to
pseudoscience?
me. It kind of seems to me like your entire point is predicated on looking out at the entire field of science and finding the three most racist people who have podcasts that agree with you. And instead of looking at the scientific consensus, which laughs in your face, like the reason we are not taking you seriously is because your ideas are deeply unserious. They're ideas that were outdated
why
a
don't you just let
century
me
ago
talk?
because they're
Why don't
silly
you let me talk? Why don't
ideas,
you
man.
If you think my ideas are so stupid, just let me talk. Just quit interrupting
Do you
me.
think, listen, okay, I know that you maybe don't know this show. Well, actually, you've called in before, so maybe like you should know this. This is a skeptic network where we care about the science, and I'm not just going to let you spew misinformation for 3 solid minutes. Like, I'm not going to let you spew
Everything that
pseudoscience.
Look, I think what you. How about 30 seconds? Just don't interrupt me.
Well,
IQ is pseudoscience.
first
Do you
of
have
all,
something else that indicates that there is racial inferiority or superiority on the intelligence markers?
I do want to
Take
point
a
out that you
fucking look
called
at-
in.
take a
You
look
called
at-
in
take a-
arguing that
He's
these were just
crashing
your
out.
opinions, bro. You called in,
And then you're like, ooh, this is
caveating
science, actually.
everything, caveating everything that it's just your opinion. And then you're like, well, I'm actually supported by science, and it's like 3 guys in a trench coat holding a clipboard. It's genuinely like this is embarrassing for you. And part of the reason we're not going to let you go.
Why are you so afraid to let me talk? Just let me talk.
I'm not afraid to let you talk. I just want a better version of your argument. Again, maybe you can find like a higher IQ individual to call in and make these arguments.
You just told me IQ is. Didn't you all just say IQ is bullshit?
Yeah,
It's
find the highest
pseudoscience,
IQ
yeah.
individual you know. It's clearly something you value.
You care about it.
You're saying it's a pseudoscience, but you're telling me I'm low IQ. Yet you have to keep interrupting.
It's because
Yeah,
we're
'cause
making
I'm
fun of
making
you,
fun of
John.
you.
We have
Yeah.
stopped taking you seriously at this point. This is just for fun now.
Well, okay, you're not very serious people, but you think dudes are women. You're
Dude.
fucking insane.
You're bringing up IQ and trying to say that race is scientifically based. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, and so therefore it's very easy for me to just stop taking you seriously.
It's
Just
like
let
you're
me
calling
talk.
in and
Just
telling
quit
it's like
interrupting.
you're calling in and like making an argument for why the entire world needs to go back to needs to like transition to using square wheels instead of round ones. And we're just laughing at you because that's an objectively bad idea that is disproven by literally maybe you could find one guy, one quack who's like steam power is the future of modern conveyance. And like maybe you could find a guy like that in the world somewhere, but like to everyone else, it's silly on the face of it. It's facially silly. And like the reason we're not taking you seriously is because you keep insisting on being a silly little guy in like the worst possible way.
Look, again, the reason that the left blames systematic racism on all the problems of like the Black community, but if you just take a look at inner cities and ghettos or
Blah 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 blah. I'm a racist. My name is John. I'm a racist. Bye bye. I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, you're just
Also-
gonna pivot to another racist point. I'm not gonna entertain you.
Yeah, look at all the inner cities and ghettos. I would also like to point out inner cities and ghettos are also socially constructed as a legacy of like the very ideas that he's championing being put into practice to justify American apartheid. Like, oh, the inner cities. Oh, you mean the parts of the cities that were specifically defunded systematically and made into apartheid? Like, that's the black side of town that doesn't get any funding with all of the black only water fountains and schools. Yeah. Gee whiz, I wonder why those parts of the city are underfunded.
Yeah.
Oh, the ghettos? I wonder who built those. what kind of social and economic forces might have been at play for that? No, it
Who
must be
knows?
because of the collection of arbitrary ethnicities that we collected in the 1800s, like Pokemon. Nah, it's got to be that.
Yep, let's go back to 1860s, I guess. Goodness. Well,
I
listen,
mean, if
y'all.
we went back to the 1860s, it's not going to work out for him very well either. Let's be, if we all recall how the 1860s went for that type of ideology in America.
Yeah, it was a rough time. It's always been a rough time. Well, that said, we're between calls. This is a perfect time for y'all to hit the like button and click share and touch all the things on the screen as many times as possible. Because we've still got a couple calls left. We do no, we don't really have open lines right now, but that's fine. We have a couple really interesting calls on the line. What are you thinking? Are you thinking 25 or maybe 28.6?
I gotta be honest, I haven't I haven't read the screener because I'm still out of it from that last call. That was silly as hell.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It's cute. I feel like 28.6 is going to be spicier.
Let's
So,
do
but I see you, Cody. We'll take you next, Cody. Right now, we're going to talk to Dylan, he, him pronouns from Minnesota, who is now live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How you doing, Dylan?
How's it going, Luxander and Jack?
Howdy.
Doing good, doing good. Lay out your topic for us today. There is strictly man and woman made in God's image. Go into it.
Yeah, I believe that Jesus created me not to be a woman, but a man. And me saying that I'm a woman does not change that God made me a man.
What God?
Jesus.
So you're referring to like the Christian theology?
Right, the son of the Christian God.
Okay. Why do you believe in that God?
Well, for one reason that Jesus didn't create me to be a woman, but God made me a man. And me saying
Unrelated.
that I'm a woman does not.
Why? From whence do you get knowledge, and why do you feel certain that this God is real?
Oh, why do I feel certain this God is real? Well, his invisible attributes are seen in creation. And where do I get this knowledge? I get this knowledge from the Bible.
Which version?
I read the NRSV updated edition.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just asking out of curiosity.
Yeah.
And also the Good News translation.
Why should other people who believe in different gods or different religious beliefs or lack religious beliefs share your view?
Well, the topic here, this discussion is man and woman, right? So one reason is because what we see happening in this country is that young children saying that they're women when they're boys, and boys saying that they're women when they're boys. I believe that until they're 18 or 19, they should not be allowed to, I believe that what's happening in this country is that these young children are being coerced into believing lies by
The
Satan.
problem, Dylan, that we're running into here, hold on, Dylan, because what we're dealing with is your belief is explicitly a religious belief. And in you're from America, I assume you're from here. I'm from here. And we believe in freedom of religion, which also means freedom from religion, meaning you cannot change the law in order to satisfy your religious beliefs when other people don't share those religious beliefs, you know? Like, so when we're asking, like, why do you believe in this and why should we believe in this? Like, I need you to focus on that part of the question of, like, why should other people adopt your beliefs, your explicitly religious beliefs? Like, why should a secular person or why should a Muslim person care at all what Jesus has to say? And why would we allow that to influence our policy making and our laws?
Wow. Okay. I need time to consider this question. I want to answer it completely. Can you please say it again in other words so that I can receive the question and then answer it?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we live in a country where we have freedom of religion. So there are going to be people in our society who don't share your religious beliefs. So for people who don't share your religious beliefs, what is your argument?
Okay,
Because
so my
the
particular
argument you are
religious
presenting is based on your religious belief. And there are going to be obviously people who don't share that.
Okay, so my argument is that Jesus made me not a woman, but God made me a man. So why should other people share these beliefs? And why should the law be according to what my beliefs are? Why should the law be according to my religious beliefs and not to like how it is now with even freedom of religion? Because the country does offer freedom of religion. So
I mean,
why should things
I'm just,
change according to
I'm
my
just
religious beliefs?
asking, I'm just asking why, like if you are talking to somebody who doesn't believe in a God at all, why should, like, obviously making an appeal to Jesus or God making people so is not going to be a compelling argument to somebody who doesn't believe in Jesus or God. Like, what is your
Well,
argument outside of your religious belief?
Yeah, it's like you're saying, "Ooh, Santa's not going to bring you any presents." I'm like, that doesn't mean anything to me.
for one, I believe that it is beneficial to believe in Jesus, and also, why should other people believe in this God? Because not only is
No,
it beneficial to believe in Jesus,
What we're asking about, not your religious belief. We're asking about, like, your ideas about trans people. Why should other people believe your ideas about trans people? Because there are going to be
oh,
people out there that you know this. There are going to be people out there who aren't going to be Christians, and like, you might obviously say, well, obviously they should convert to my religion, but okay, say they don't. What is your argument?
my argument is that we should believe what Jesus says because He created us. So why should my religious beliefs be what the country follows? Because this God created us, and so we should follow what He says, not what we say. For His ways are mysterious and higher than ours, and we cannot begin even to comprehend this God. But what He says should be the authority because He created us, man and woman.
You don't have
So
any
what
arguments based on like science, based on healthcare outcomes, based on any of that. Your argument is strictly and solely limited to religious scripture.
Well, if you're talking about science, what is science? It is a study of the heavens, and it uses information to do this. Where should we get our information? I believe we should get our information from the Bible. And so, if we're talking about
Okay,
science here, we should be talking about where we should get our
I'm
information
sorry,
from, which is the Bible.
sorry. Do you think that because like open heart surgery isn't in the Bible, we shouldn't have open heart surgery?
No.
Okay. So that question, like your argument here, like we should just have the Bible, like clearly not. So when I'm talking about making an argument based on science, I'm talking about making an argument based on like physical reality, material reality, the observations we have of it, the outcomes that we have studied about different medical interventions, etc. Like that's the entire basis for medical science, right? It is built up over hundreds of years of trial and error, scientific rigor, etc. And so my question is, do you have an argument that is separate from your religious belief, that is based upon material reality, why trans people should not be allowed to exist?
I'm especially talking about children who are being coerced, I believe, by Satan into saying that they're
but do you
women
have a
when they're a boy.
scientific argument about this?
That's an insane thing to
my
say,
argument,
bro. The fact that you don't know that that's an insane thing to say is crazy. Do you have, like, literally, do you have anything that isn't make believe, dumb, crazy, delusional bullshit that to justify why we should allow or disallow people to get medical care? That's an insane thing to say.
Of course. My argument is that I believe that what Jesus says is backed up by physical material reality, that man and woman, that there is man and there's woman. There's a woman that gives birth to children, as the Bible says, and there's a man that is the head of the woman, And then I believe that what I'm saying about what Jesus says is backed up by physical, material reality, man and woman.
Like what?
Can I ask you just a question? Do you believe that children, if they are injured or in like a life-threatening situation, do you think that children should be able to get blood transfusions?
Yeah.
Okay. What if I told you that there are certain types of Christians that believe that biblical scripture says no? That according to biblical scripture, according to what their understanding of Jesus and God is, that actually it would be a sin to allow those children to receive blood transfusions.
Okay. This will make sense. I need like 20 seconds to like have the floor, and like it's going to make sense if I have like 20 seconds to have the floor. So
Okay.
Go for it.
My answer to this is that like with science, going back to science, science is requires what to make any kind of conclusion? Requires information, and I believe that every human that is born on Earth should err on the side of Scripture. Why? Because Scripture is the most reliable source of information. So why do I believe that what Jesus and God says and what these Christians say, if the Scripture says that this is sin, then I believe we should err on the side of Scripture because Jesus and God created us. So we shouldn't err on the side of what like science is just science requires information. So we should err on the side of what Scripture says, what Jesus and God says, what these Christians say, because we should err on the side of what the Bible says. So if they say that it is a sin, then I agree that it is a sin.
Okay, so in the span of just like 2 seconds, I just convinced you that it is a sin to give children blood transfusions, like if they've been hit by a car. Is that what you're telling me?
That's not written anywhere in the Bible, though. It's not written anywhere in the Bible not to.
It is according to Jehovah's Witnesses.
Those people are like they don't believe Jesus is God.
What makes your obviously you are biased towards your own religious belief, but I do want to point out here you might be, and I just want to introduce this idea, you might be just as wrong about this as Jehovah's Witnesses are about denying blood transfusions.
I have to admit that I am biased because I just so happen to be aligned with Jesus as God. So any other religion that does not align with Jesus as God, I am biased because I will always align with Jesus.
But here's the thing.
God.
Here's the thing, Dylan. I just looked it up because I wanted to look it up, and I'm sorry for interrupting you. But both the Old and New Testaments clearly command people to abstain from consuming blood, like Genesis 9:4, for example, and that is the strict literal interpretation. That like it says like you cannot consume blood to sustain life, basically. And it says this in multiple: Leviticus 17:10, Deuteronomy 12:23, Acts 15:28 and 29. So you're saying that like you base your knowledge and truth about the world on the Bible, but you are okay with consuming blood in order to maintain life. Like you're okay with putting blood in your body or in a child's body in order to sustain their life, even though the Bible explicitly says that you can't do that at all.
Yes, I'm okay with consuming and taking in blood transfusions, and I'll explain why, even though the Bible prohibits this. The Bible prohibits this, but we are not under the laws of the Bible, but under the grace of Jesus. And all of those laws of the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament, are all about Jesus, which point to him as the sacrifice for our sins, not as laws that we're meant to keep, but as laws that Jesus fulfilled. So I do.
No, actually, Jesus, when he came back, he said, "I am not changing the law. Not one jot or tittle shall be changed."
Correct.
Do I know your Bible better than you? Like, how are you having like a mutually inconsistent position right now? Because either the laws in the Bible are what they are, because Jesus said the law is what it is. My coming has not changed the law at all. And so you're just like selectively choosing which parts you agree with and which you don't, which is like explicitly against the rules, I'm pretty sure. Like, it's so crazy to me that you Christians want to come in here and try to talk to me about gender, and your belief system is built on like sticks and mud and cards. Like what your beliefs are built on wet cardboard right now.
your position on what Jesus said is right. You are right about what Jesus said. Your position is correct. Jesus did say he's not come to change the law, but to fulfill the law. But rather, I still say that we're not under the laws of the Bible, that Jesus freed us from the law because by his death, we're married not to the law, but we're married to Jesus. So I still
So where
say,
does that
even though
come
your
from?
position
Is
correct,
that's just the Church of Dylan? That's like what your personal belief system, or is that what your pastor told you? Because it's not what the Bible said.
here, it's in the epistles of Paul, and we find
And
where it's
again, you
written.
still haven't told us like why we should care what the Bible says. Like basically, if I have a conversation with you about the Bible, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to lay out all the ways in which the Bible is inconsistent and morally abhorrent, that it talks about a woman getting turned into a pillar of salt, that it tells you how to have slavery, that it tells you how to conduct an abortion, that it tells you how to purchase a woman after you've raped her. And that will still like we're having a whole problem again about like, why should I believe in it? Why should I believe anything? And it is true, not just because it has a lot of words in it, like you seem to suggest it. Oh, it has so much information in it. Okay, so much deeply inconsistent information, like translated multiple times over from thousands of years ago, from a society whose construction like is different than my own society, and whose sensibilities are different from my own. And by the way, science depends on replicable results and peer review. And we are constantly trying to falsify our results. So you're saying here, oh, transition is bad for children, we shouldn't be doing it. Okay, well, over and over and over again, we've tried making them wait until they're 18. And guess what? That worsens their outcomes. And like here's the thing, if it were harming children, I would want to know that. I would be like, we should maybe pause. We should maybe get more doctors involved if it was hurting children, to allow them to have access to transition care. Like, I don't know what kind of person you think I am, that I am knowingly endorsing and supporting something that is demonstrably harming children. But like, yeah, it's like, you cannot give me any reasons why the Bible is true, how your God is real. And like, you don't seem to understand the fundamental principles of scientific rigor and how we come to conclusions in science. And I understand why you don't, because you have a delusional belief system. Do you know that the only reason why Christianity is not considered a delusion is because it's commonly held? Otherwise, everything that you're doing right now is straight up delusional, definitionally.
May I please refute this?
You can fucking try.
Okay, so I can prove that my God is real. Like, I can easily prove that my God is real.
I would love to have that information.
So it's based on 3 points here. And it's based on what you were speaking about, how that God turned somebody into a pillar of salt. But how is and that my claim is that gender transitioning or whatever is harmful to children who do not have their brains developed. So I believe that Satan is the one behind who's causing these children to believe these lies about themselves, that a boy is a man and that a man is a woman. So I believe that Satan is the one behind this. And I can prove that you believe in my God just by your own beliefs, by what is up to you, which is your soul.
It's you, Dylan. It's you. Man, you did such a good job. You got me 16 minutes into this call before I realized who you are, because you're about to ask me if I'll sell you my soul. Okay. I haven't talked to you in a little bit. What's up, Dylan? That's a crazy thing to say. You're delusional, though. No. Like, by definition, you're delusional. The only reason you're not considered delusional is because a whole bunch of other people believe in the same delusional shit. You think Satan exists as real and is harming people and is evil. You believe in objective evil via Satan.
Can I just step in real
evil,
quick?
That is Satan.
That's crazy.
Okay. So, do you know where the word Satan comes from?
Yes, it comes from the Hebrew word for adversary, but it comes from the Hebrew word for adversary, Satan.
Yeah. Do you know, in the context of the original Hebrew scripture, what that means to be the adversary?
Yes, it means accuser, slander, and more specifically, the book of Revelation says that he's the accuser of our brethren, that he's the accuser of our brothers and sisters.
In the context of the Torah and other related materials, Hasatan is the accuser, but not in the sense of like some imp that compels evil. Hasatan, the accuser, is a legalistic role, a role that he takes on in that is embodied in the book of Job, where essentially God's lawyer comes and says, "Hey, is that guy really as good as like people are saying he is?" And that's the entire premise of the book of Job. Essentially, God's lawyer challenging God to like, is this Job guy really that good, right? The modern conception of Satan as this omnipresent force is a later invention. It is an invention of the medieval period. It's an invention of folks like Milton with Paradise Lost, of Renaissance art, the art of a muscly, twinky Satan. You've got
I love that.
Yeah, you've got a lot of influence. Dante and his Inferno. You've got a lot of influence that has built up this idea in your mind that in the Bible there is this character named Satan who is the reason for why bad things happen. That is a huge mistranslation and misunderstanding of the actual text. And this is kind of, I bring this up because I want it to maybe cause some questions in you about what you are basing your entire belief on, right? Because you are saying, well, this, my only argument, it's not about science. It's not about the outcomes of the children. It's not about the proven benefits of gender affirming care. It is not about any of that. It is about this holy book. And I want you to look into where your translation of the Bible came from. I want you to look into where the church fathers and how the church fathers codified the Bible at like events like the Council of Nicaea and stuff like that. I want you to look at the absolute bullshit politics that went on with the codification of the Bible as it exists in our modern era, and how a lot of the decisions about what is and is not in the Bible were made because of those political reasons, because of those set of different circumstances. And I also want you to reckon with the idea that a lot of different people over thousands of years have come to vastly different understandings of what this text means. Because you just said to us, well, the Bible, that's the old law. We have Jesus now. We don't need the old laws. But you're basing your belief on Jesus in the Bible and the laws that it puts out there.
You're assuming things about me that are not true.
Okay, how do you know who Jesus is?
I base my belief on that your creator is Jesus. The Bible,
where do you get your understanding of Jesus Christ?
My understanding of Jesus Christ, you're making assumptions about me.
How do you know about him? That's not an assumption. It's a question. How do you know about Jesus? Where does your information come from?
How do I know about Jesus? Your creator is Jesus.
Oh my God, Dylan.
So you don't, all of the things that you know about Jesus, you got from just your imagination?
No. Who created you? Your creator is Jesus.
How do you know who your creator is?
My creator? How do I know who my creator is?
Yeah, where did you get this knowledge?
The word of God.
From where?
From my creator.
Okay, thanks for the clip, Dylan. Bye.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. That I like, dude, actually, because I've heard him so many times, but I don't really do a good job of distinguishing between the voices of white men.
That's fine.
That's the majority of the people that call in, and I'm like, when I close the call-in studio and I'm like, bye everybody, I love you, I do not think about these people at all. But I have heard Dylan, he's called 8 times, and I've been here for a lot of them, because he always ends on the same thing. He usually gets there much sooner. So we managed to get him there. We managed to have it take quite a while. So like, again, thanks for the clip. I'll be using that one. But he always comes back to, will you sell me your soul? Every single time.
If he PayPal's me like $5,000 right now, absolutely. Go for it, bud.
Yeah. We'll get that in writing, you know?
Yeah.
No more rights and responsibilities. I have zero custody of that. Yep. Like that's I'm signing over my parental rights.
part of the reason I wanted to ask that question at the I wanted to know where he's getting his information from, because there's a certain Christian that's like, well, the Old Testament is the Old Testament, but the New Testament though, that's the good shit. And he even made reference to writings in the New Testament. So I'm very confused where he's getting his information from, if not that.
We were at the point in the call where we were circling the drain, and he was just going to dodge every single question. He did not have anything left to give us.
Yeah, it's just like, for folks who call in or folks who want to make that argument, like, I don't know, like you wind up getting into the weeds where it's like, well, the Bible also talks about how there's no longer Jew or Greek, there's no longer slave or free, there's no longer male or female, because all are one in Jesus. And like, that seems kind of like maybe something that might be relevant to this conversation, but very much is open to interpretation. And these folks just do not want to engage with the idea that their interpretation isn't sacrosanct.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, we still got a couple more calls on the line. Lines are closed now. We're getting close to the end part of our show, so I will shout out now, if you do the $5 or more in your super chats, we read those, number one, and number two, you can vote with hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Jack. Whoever loses has to defend a silly proposition. At some point, you'll be able to vote on, oh, there it is. I see it now. What position should the loser of the super chat game have to defend? The first option is the draft, but for a drag troupe. Dragons are cisgender, rough, or trad wives are gender extremists. Those are all very funny. So get your votes in the chat there, and that will influence how we end our show. And if you want to, help determine who wins and loses, get the hashtag Team Lux, hashtag Riverboat Jack, or hashtag Team Jack. I can't fucking talk in the super chats of $5 or more. And if you haven't liked the stream, do it. Even though the lines are closed for right now, we can still get people in the chat hanging out and chatting with us more and boosting us in the algorithm, et cetera, et cetera. We might not be able to get to all of our callers, by the way. I'm so sorry to those of you who've been waiting with the advice calls, but we had a lot more spicy calls than we were expecting today. So I'm apologizing preemptively. We're going to do our best, but we might not be able to get to your questions today. With that said, let's take John, whose pronouns are listed as Z-Zer from New Hampshire. John, you're live with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Awesome. So you're wanting to debate what you call trans ideology, and you say trans identities are not valid. Lay it on us. Yep. Elaborate.
Wait, so would you say a trans woman is a woman?
Yeah.
Okay, can I get an argument for why this is to be the case outside of preference?
Well, you're calling in. We'd prefer if you made.
Wait, no, you
proposed
this multiple times to other individuals. I want to question you about your beliefs in this. So how is it the case that trans women are women?
That's how are black women women?
That didn't answer the question. You asserted something to be the case. Can you actually engage?
John, what the point I'm trying to make here is that trans women are a type of women. The same way a black woman is a type of woman.
How is that the case?
Because it's just a different type of woman, John.
Now, you're just asserting something here. How is a trans woman a woman? Are you able to demonstrate this to be the case outside of
because they belong to the category of woman?
A category of woman, okay? Is category of woman preference based?
It's societally constructed, John.
Okay, so it's preference based then. So are you saying that gender is a social construct?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Define social construct real quick before I get you on this wonderful hill.
Okay. Social construct is like the commonly accepted ideas about gender that we have in society.
Okay, cool. Are social constructs subjective or objective real quick?
I would say
by definition they're subjective. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact
Okay,
that they
cool.
exist is
So
objective.
age in of itself, yeah, so age in of itself is a social construct. We can look at different societies that count age differently. South Korea, for example, they count age very differently from like other countries. So would it be permissible for a 53-year-old to identify as a 13-year-old if age is also a social construct?
I'm not sure how South Korea like determines their age
Do they
differently.
use a different calendar? Did they not sign up with the Gregorian calendar? That's actually really interesting. I just listened to a podcast about that.
Yeah, no, they did not. So when it comes to the situation, would you believe that it's permissible, since age is also a social construct, a 53-year-old identifying as a 13-year-old if it's a social construct?
Well,
I mean, I would say, hold on, if the years are different, like if by my clock it's been 53 years, but by their clock it's only been 13 years, then what would be the conflict?
Wait, the conflict in the situation is if it is the case that all social constructs are based off of preference or at the same time society, then you're going to have certain types of
so they're also
actions
contextual.
Jack specified that she was elaborating on what the social construct means in the context of gender. Neither of us had made the claim that. Oh, excuse me, John. Excuse me. I'm making a clarifying statement. John, I'm clarifying our point. She specified that social construct in terms of gender. That's how she was defining it. And we have not said that every social construct is a preference. Money is a social construct.
Or it could be the case.
The value of money, John.
I'm
in the middle of making a point, John. Money changes value over time, and different cultures value money differently, which is why, to your example about like, well, time is different in different countries. I'm like, okay, if that person is 53 years old by the Gregorian calendar, but in Korea, they have a different length of year where the years are much longer, and therefore that person is only 13 years old, then where is the conflict between those social constructs? It's just like we're measuring time differently.
I also just want to point out that social interactions are contextual. And so, like, when we're talking about a social construct in a different context, like, obviously it's going to be a different thing.
Okay, let me respond. No, so that's why I was very precise when it came to the social construct in of itself, because if it is the case that this individual in question determines what is to be based off a society standard, then it would be morally permissible for all social constructs in of itself, unless if you want to give some type of factor of how this is going to be outside of us. When it comes to age in of itself, right, how we determine age based off of the Roman calendar, this is going to be our preference. So it's going to either be the case that a 53-year-old is going to be able to identify as a 13-year-old because it's a social construct, or it's not a social construct, kind of like gender, and we're going to have to root it into something outside of us.
But the context is different, John.
There are different types of social constructs. Again, money is a social construct.
Constructs are constructs.
But it defines our lives.
Like if you
things are constructed differently from one another. It's like different kinds of buildings. They're built out of different materials. Social constructs also can be different in different contexts.
You could money. Let's just run with money for a second. You can't like take a rhinestone from like the Pacific Islands and bring it to the United States and use it to pay at like a gas station. Like that, it doesn't operate in the same way because you've taken it out of the original context. Does that make sense?
You very much can't wait. You can very much take rhinestone from one area and bring it to the United States, and the individual in question can accept it as a form of payment.
You are trying to argue to me that if you walk in, no, shut the fuck up, John. Shut the fuck up.
Let me finish my statement.
John, you're interrupting me. You're being very irritating. If you are trying to seriously argue right now that you could take a 1-ton rhinestone from the Pacific Island chain and bring it to the United States, haul it up to a gas station, leave it right there and be like, here, this will pay for my $200 of gas that I just bought for you because gas is now like $1 billion a gallon. You're trying to argue to me that's how you think money works? I'm going to unmute you now. I want you to give a clear answer to my question.
Yeah, so it's logically possible. Do you understand what a logically possible means?
No, people are not going to accept money in a different currency in the US context. And they're certainly not going to accept a 2-ton stone sitting in their parking lot as a
Yeah, can you
compensation for their
demonstrate that
product.
that is not the case?
Yes, because businesses in the United States accept US currency,
And
not other
what else can they
currencies.
accept?
You can't take currency from another country and use it to pay for goods and services for the most part in
Yeah,
the
can I get a
US
law that
unless
says that?
Do you not know how currency works, John?
Wait, hold up a second. You proposed 2 factors here. First of all, you're making the case that you are not able to do this.
John, do you know
Second
what
of all,
legal tender is?
Yeah, wait, show me the law where a individual business cannot accept tender from another country. Can I get that law real
I'm
quick?
talking pulling up to a holiday gas station, John.
Wait, hold up a second.
Regardless-
Being a
You
little
asserted that
fucking
you
weasel
can't
about
accept
it.
legal. Wait,
John,
your claim here.
regardless,
Wait, hold up a second.
regardless of whether it is explicitly illegal, which I'm not sure what the
It's not.
situation is about that because I haven't looked it up. In practice, I worked at a gas station. I'm a lowly working class
that's anecdotal.
individual.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
anecdotal. So when it comes to this,
no,
this
John, shut the
burden rate-
actual fuck up. Shut the actual fuck up. In any business in the United States, in practice, they do not accept other forms of currency. In practice, businesses are not set up generally to accept other forms of currency. If I want to turn currency into American currency, I can do that, like on PayPal. I have the option on PayPal to do that. So regardless of whether it is the law, in almost universal practice, you cannot use other than US tender to buy shit here. It's not anecdotal. I was leaning on my personal experience to elucidate a point, but have you ever seen people exchange non-US currency? Have you ever worked somewhere where there is the infrastructure? My personal experience I was invoking the infrastructure. It's in the main not physically possible unless somebody's debit card is doing like an automatic translation thing. But you cannot hand a person, European paper currency, and I can't take that and put it in my cash register and give you US dollars change. In practice, universally, you have to use US currency, and that's a social construct. Why are you struggling so much with this right now?
Okay, don't mute me. So first of all,
I will mute you whenever I want to, John. Just to be clear,
okay, cool.
That's
so
going to happen.
Yeah, so the absolute claim that the other individual made is that this is not the case at all. Second of all, stop using your anecdotal when it comes to you working in a gas station. It's a situation that took place to you, which this is anecdotal in of itself. Second of all,
do you know anything about a system where you can use non-US currency?
Do you know what anecdotal is?
Yeah,
do you know what anecdotal is?
Is there any practice that anyone has recorded in any capacity, whether anecdotal or in a study?
In a small mom and pop, I got you. It could be very logically possible in a small and pop store or something that they accepted some other form of currency and covered the bill so they can have
there is
cool
a
money.
Cultural difference maybe in some places that goes against the dominant cultural norm.
Possible? Yeah,
a socially constructed cultural norm. Is that what I have I at any point made the argument that it's not logically possible? We are trying to define because you're struggling because John, you're struggling to understand the concept of a social construct. So we are looking at different examples of social constructs. And here's the thing, John, we agree to use US currency. Like if there's no law, then that's a social construct in that it's an agreement, and that in smaller social contexts, like the mom and pop store, I'm losing my breath, they might have a different cultural social norm, but it is not the cultural social norm to come up and pay with a pound of Canadian pennies at any US business. Do you understand the basic? We are still trying to establish the basic concept of what a socially constructed category is, and you are crashing out, my dude.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not crashing out.
You're just talking that entire time. That's
I'm
very funny.
Your aspect
you
of what is counted as a social construct.
Out, dude. You are absolutely crashing out, dude. The idea that you are putting forward that any actual person, The thing you're putting forward that any actual person realizes is absolute bullshit is the idea that you could take an obscure currency from the Pacific Islands and then try and use it at a gas station in, like, whatever state you're in the United States. We're talking 4-ton stone discs. And you're like, well, do you have evidence that gas stations wouldn't take that? And it's like, the evidence is literally the social construct that we are talking about. The commonly accepted form of currencies and monetary exchange that we have in this country. And I gotta be honest with you, it makes you look really stupid to try and make this very, very pedantic point in front of this audience. So the issue is, we all know that's not how monetary exchanges work in this country. We all know that, but you are making an ass of yourself by trying to argue this. So I'm going to unmute you now, and you can respond, but like, try and respond in a way that like an actual human would respond, you know? I for your own sake, stop making an ass of yourself.
Yeah, I'm not making an ass of myself. This is something called bartering. You're able to do
You're
this.
painfully unaware of yourself.
Taking place, so when it comes to this taking place, you still have to demonstrate that this isn't logically possible, and then you still have to prove that trans women are women.
We're not making the point. We're not making the point that it's logically impossible, John. We are saying that the use of money, the use of money is a social construct, and we have social agreements around its use. That is the entire point that we're trying to make right now. Again, we are still just trying to define what a social construct is on a very basic level.
No, not really. I've been attacking your point of what is a social construct, and
it's because
I have contentions with it.
Yeah, that's why we are talking about money. We're trying to say, okay, here is a different type of social construct. Social constructs can be different. It's, again, like a building that is made out of different materials. Different social constructs have different rules and different foundations and different, like, edge cases, you know? Like murder is a social construct. And it's like, ooh, if it's intentional, and there's different levels of how intentional it is.
Argument for this. Yeah, so the argument for money is, could it not be the case that tomorrow we wake up and the $1 bill is actually worth $100? Is that not the case?
We could also wake up tomorrow and our shit could be made out of pure gold.
Okay, cool.
There's a lot of things that could happen.
So social constructs are preference-based. So would it not be the case that a 53-year-old is able to identify as a 13-year-old now?
That has nothing to do with anything. You just made several leaps away from the topic.
It's a social construct.
But how is money preference-based? How is that preference-based?
Yeah, the thing I'm trying to make clear to you, John, the thing I'm trying to make clear to you, John, is that when we're talking about social constructs, the context matters. The context of the social construct itself and the context of, like, the society in which it exists. So you keep going back and demonstrating to us that you don't understand what a social construct is, both when we're talking about currency, but also with this example where you're talking about someone who is attributing their age to the South Korean calendar instead of the Gregorian calendar. And, like, what we're trying to tell you is that the context matters because social interactions are contextual. Like, I don't know how to make this more clear and more basic. Like, this is how I would explain it to, like, a 10-year-old. So I really hope that when I unmute you, you understand this, because everyone else watching right now understands the point, and you don't seem to get it. And I don't know if that is pedantry on your part or like some failure in your brain. I'm gonna unmute you now. I'm hoping for the best.
Yeah, so when you're saying interacting with people, it could very much be, ready, based off the individual's preference. The law, when you brought up the situation of, well, it's the federal, yeah, laws are based off the individual's preferences or other factors. So when it comes to this situation, you still have to bite the bullet and say, yes, if a 53-year-old wants to identify as a 13-year-old and society determines that this could very much be logically possible, it would be the case.
John,
Do you
I don't
understand
think
this, or do you want me to dumb this down for you?
I understand
John,
the point you're making. You
can I
just
just
don't
ask-
understand what we're saying.
I just want to ask, John, what makes you feel like it's okay to like be actively rude to us right now? Like to be actively rude
not
and
being rude.
condescending. You literally
not being
are.
rude.
You just asked if you needed to dumb things down. Do you understand how condescending that is? And if you don't, then you really
Wait.
need to like do high school over again and maybe get your ass kicked a couple times for talking out
so
the
when
side
it
of your
comes
mouth.
to this,
Like,
you guys were already being facetious when it came to the situation, saying, "Oh, I don't understand how this isn't going through your brain." I'm just retracting, or at the same time engaging with how you guys are acting. So if we're
you
being
aren't
very precise
engaging with
here,
our points, though, John, which is the more frustrating part. Because we've explained the situation about age to you like 3 times now. We explained the monetary situation. We've explained context as a concept to you, and you don't seem to get it or understand because you keep saying, but what if the context was different? Then, like, the context would be different, and we'd be talking about a different
how do we
system.
determine age?
In the U.S. context by years.
the Gregorian
Around-
calendar.
Yeah.
But again, if
so
another
it's our
country
preference.
had a
If you
different
go around the
calendar,
sun one time, it makes you one.
Yeah.
according to our calendar, yes. By the way that we measure
Yeah,
time,
so
that
based off
is
our preference
our
that we
measurement of
determined to
time.
be the case. Yeah, so based off our preference that we determined to be the case, ready? If you go around the sun, it makes you one. So when it comes to this, in of itself, it's going to be a social construct. Do you understand this?
Yeah.
Right, because it's going to be actually a nightmare when we establish Mars colonies to like translate the calendar and how to talk to each other and how to coordinate things. It's actually going to be quite difficult. So yes, it is dependent on context.
No, it's not on context. It's the preference in question here. Because if it is the case that two
I
individuals...
don't prefer,
right?
John, I don't prefer that it takes longer to circumnavigate the sun on Mars. Like, it's the context of how Mars moves around the sun that means that time is different there and that it's going to be tricky to negotiate when we have Mars colonies. That's a contextual difference.
The contextual
Time is based
difference
off a
between the
reality that
US
is
and South Korea is that South
interacting
Korea
with the human
uses
state
a
of
different
mind.
calendar. Like, there's a contextual difference there. Right? So you're asking, what if somebody who attributes their age to a different calendar came into our context? And the reality is we would just be like, well, we'd translate that into whatever it would be in our age, under our legal system.
But it
because
wouldn't
the
change
context
that
is
they are
ours.
13 in their own context. Like, that they are still going to think of themselves as 13 because that's how their calendar works.
But their 13 wouldn't be the same as our 13 because it's contextually very different.
Yeah. We would just translate it.
It's contextually very different. It's going to be one society versus another society, what they determine to be
Those
the
are
case.
two different
Second
contexts.
of all, when it comes to time, let me finish my statement. You guys have been monologuing so much.
Dude,
you're just not like engaging with anything we're saying, which is why we're trying to interrupt and circle back.
I can't get over this. You're like, no, it's not different contexts. It's two different countries. Those are two different contexts. That is what we are talking about. The context is the two different things that we exist within.
Where different societies construct things like time differently. Like a construct that's socially built, maybe.
Yeah, socially built based off the individuals in question. When it comes to time, it's also indexed to a human state of mind being present, because we can't make the negative claim here that time exists without a human being there. Third, when it comes to
time
factor
exists
taking
objectively
place,
without
yes,
human
one
being
society
observation,
versus
actually.
another
It's a physical
society,
thing.
it's going to be two different preferences against each other. When you assert that, well, you go around the sun one time.
Why are you using the word preference like in a denigrating way? Like, what do you even mean by preference? And why are you using that as a why are you using that to describe? I'm not done. I'm asking a question. I'm not done asking my fucking question, John. Are you gonna? You gonna let me? Okay, cool, great. So I've lost the thread of my question now because that's what interrupting does.
Yeah,
it prevents a conversation.
I subscribe to when it comes to preference.
Yeah. Okay. So why is that something that you seem to be using to discredit the concept of a social construction. So the two part of the question, number one, what do you mean by preference, and why does it sound like you're using that to discredit the notion?
Okay, cool. Preference in of itself is going to be someone's principles or morals. Second, when it comes to the concepts of social construct, it's just the multiple people's preferences in of itself subscribing to something that could be very much false. That's why when it comes to social construct in of itself, if you're determining something to be the case, kind of like, let's just say age, which I brought this to, and you guys are understanding this, it's going to be one preference versus another preference. If you determine if you go around the sun one time, that makes you one. Another society that determines if you go around the sun 53 times, right? You're only 13-year-olds. You're only 13 and you only have the rights of a 13-year-old.
Okay, I'm going to try and make this as simple as I possibly can. Okay? So you said something silly about time not existing if humans aren't around. That's silly, but it gave me an idea, right? And hopefully maybe this can help you make some sense of this. In the United States, a lot of people measure space by using inches. In other parts of the world, they measure space by using meters or centimeters. Those measurements of space or space-time are socially constructed. That doesn't mean that space is not real. It doesn't mean that like the fundamentals of the thing that is being measured isn't real, but the measurement system that we apply is socially constructed and used in different contexts and is understood very differently in different contexts. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, so it's two different preferences in question here. You still haven't demonstrated time would exist without a human mind interacting with this.
Well, time
You're
is a physical
to be the case.
Time is part of space-time. It is a physical property of our universe, and we can measure it. And again, just like the meter versus the inch, we can say one revolution around our sun counts as 1 year. And that is an amount of time that we are, it's objective that we went around the sun, but to call that 1 year and to have that be socially significant is a social choice. And like, I don't fundamentally disagree with this idea that like by what you're saying by preference is that like a bunch of people have made consensus and have decided that this is the best way to do things. Like we all adopted the Gregorian calendar and we have like the weird leap days and leap seconds and all this shit. And like, so there's a leap day every so often, but not on certain years that it normally would be, in order to keep our calendar, our social construct synced up to the like tangible physical reality of how long it takes the Earth to go around the sun, right? So I don't disagree with you that social constructs are, by their definition, social agreements that we have engaged in. Like, yes, that is, we've managed to come to some level of agreement here.
And I do want to point out that earlier you said that preferences are things that we agree on that could be wrong. But I like simplifying it down to measurement, because there's, whether you're measuring in inches or in imperial or metric, like there's nothing wrong about that. It might be more difficult to measure in one system or the other, but there's nothing wrong about it. It's just different. And it's a different contextually accepted system in each case, right? And like also space would still exist even if we didn't have a measurement system for it, even if we were to disappear off the face of the earth. Space and time would continue to exist.
Yeah, can you demonstrate that negative there, or stop making these negative claims that you can't demonstrate to be the case? When it comes to the situation,
I mean, wait, are you like a full-on solipsist, bro? Like, are you like, if my brain ceases to be, so does the universe?
No, I'm not. I'm not solipsism, and it's not solipsis. Sorry to tell you. So when it comes to the situation taking place, right? We
it's
understand,
not being a
right,
solipsism
when it comes to
either.
centimeters, inches, feet, and meters. These are going to be preference-based off of societies. We came to the agreement saying, oh, well, this is what this means. It doesn't mean that this is objective or at the same time that this is to be determined in this case. When it comes to the factors that we are proposing, when it comes to social constructs in of itself, if it is very much preference-based, then you would have to be logically consistent to the laws that Aristotle has set, the law of contradiction, that if it is a social construct in of itself, then at that point it's going to be morally permissible. You would not be able to say that this is immoral, that a 53-year-old identifies as a 13-year-old. Do you understand that, or do you want me to keep
Why would I
a
care
little bit more
about
simple for
that?
you?
Why would I care about that person doing that?
Do you
Why
not
would it
know
be
what the laws
immoral?
of logic are?
Why? I don't give a shit about the laws of logic, is the thing.
No, but also, would it not just be the same thing as translating like a metric measurement into imperial measurement? Like the problem that you're proposing as if it's a great moral conundrum, it just isn't.
I gotta say,
you would just
meters
translate.
Meters are definitely more moral. The imperial system is immoral. I'm gonna take that stand.
I don't know.
Okay.
The foot fetishist community is going to be very disappointed.
And guess what that means? That's
They
your
know who they
preference
are.
question. So can you demonstrate how age is objectively the case?
It's not. That's the whole point of a
Oh,
social
it's not.
construct. Is that it's
Okay, cool. So
Ti-
it's morally
time is
permissible for a
because-
53-year-old to identify as a
Dude,
13-year-old.
Time is objective, but like the existence
Demonstrate
of
that?
time and space is objective, whether we are observing it or not. But the issue is that measurement is based upon like our social construction, right? Like whether
Okay,
you
so
are
measurements
using
are based upon
imperial
what we
or
agree
metric.
upon.
Yeah. So what you would do is if you have two different ways of measuring time, you just translate that into the locally accepted measurement of time. It's not a moral conundrum. It's just a change in the measurement system.
So wait, but then at that point, if you have to translate it into the local one, if they don't subscribe to the same aspect as the individual in question, what happens to that individual? Should we care about that individual's preference, their morals, or what they believe to be the case?
They can still think of themselves as 13. They can celebrate their 14th birthday in 5 years. I don't care.
British people can still measure their height in meters. Like, even if they, when they come to the United States, have to translate it for all of us imperial users. Like, it's not difficult. You've made it into like this mountain. It's a fucking less than a molehill.
Wait, should we accept that individual's ideology?
Should you accept that the British use meters?
Yeah,
sir.
I accept that they measure time different in Korea.
Aspect. Don't bring this to the meters.
No,
Stop
but
I'm trying to make it simple for you. Else.
Their age in another system is fine.
Yeah, why would I argue with them? I would be like, it's like in dog years. You know, it's like, oh, you're 80 in dog years, but you're like 8 in actual years. I would just be like, oh, okay, that's cool that you're like, in your culture, you're 13 years old and you become an adult at age 2 or 3 or whatever. I'm like, oh, I'd be like, that's really cool. And do you want to celebrate your 14th birthday? When is that? Like, I would be okay with acknowledging the cultural difference. And also, like, in my culture, you're 53, which means that you get, you're almost at a point where you could get a senior citizen discount or what the fuck ever. Like, things are just different in different places, and there's no moral weight on the difference between how we measure those things.
Wait, there is a moral weight here because it could lead to a slippery slope. If you're saying in one society they determine 13 to be one aspect, hold up.
But they're not 13 here. You translate it.
Wait, but if you're saying that we translate it, one has to be the case and one doesn't. One's going to be a lie versus the one that's going to be
just
contextual.
Do you think British people are lying when they measure their height in meters?
Meters? Yeah, I would just say that when it comes to like the meter aspect, this isn't something I presented. You're trying to bring this into some other type of category. I would like you to be honest and engage with what I've been presenting to you.
It's the same question, John. It's the same question. You are presenting two different societies that measure time in two different ways.
What is the question that I presented to you?
The sun still travels around the earth, or sorry, the other way around. I'm getting my words mixed up. The earth travels around the sun the same number of times in 53 years for us and in 13 years for the hypothetical society. Okay, nobody is arguing that there is an objective difference in how many like how much actual physical time the person has been alive, right? It's about how they measure it. And it would not be lying for them to say, I'm 13 in my culture's time. And it's not lying for us to say, well, in our culture, you're 53. And you are in a it's probably like a similar cultural space, because it's not like we're changing base 10, right? It's not like 13 means to us what 13 means over here. Like for them, when they hear 13, they think 53 in that way of like they're thinking of an old man
No,
or
they
whatever.
think 13.
But
They
you're not
think of
fucking listening,
13.
John. You're not listening.
53.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that the idea of what it means to be 13 is the same as our idea of what it means to be 53, in the sense that we are describing a person who's been alive for 53 revolutions around the sun, even if for them it takes like 3 or 4 revolutions around the sun for them to count it as 1 year. Nobody's being dishonest by acknowledging the differences in how we measure the same thing.
Is someone who's 5'6" lying when they say they're 1.7 meters tall?
Yeah, that's fallacious. That is an argument I presented
It's
to you.
not.
Directly
It's
Shows the
answering the
slippery slope
question.
fallacy.
Yeah, so that isn't answering the question that I
slippery slope
proposed
to
to
using
you guys.
meters.
The situation taking place.
We are
so
trying to address the
that I
question.
proposed to you guys, and I'm waiting for you guys to actually answer this. If it is the situation taking place, right? Well, you're 3 times around the sun, that makes you 1, right? You propose 2 factors here. First, it's going to be our ideology versus their ideology about how many times it goes around the sun and what rights this individual would have.
They would
Do you
have
understand
different rights
this?
depending
Because
on the
you're saying, well, it's
context
going to
they
be the same as a
existed.
53-year-old.
John, they would have different rights depending on the different context they exist in. So if someone from South Korea comes to the United States, they would be subject to U.S. law. Like, it's not difficult to figure out.
What if it is the case that this 13-year-old from this location, right, has only the same rights as the child in their country, where they can be able to do certain actions?
They
versus
wouldn't?
United
South
States, where
Korean
they have
adults
different factors.
exist? Like, what are you talking about?
What you're missing
let's just
here
say
that
that
13 describes an old person in that context. If you're saying that 53, they would be 53 here, but they're only considered 13 there, to them, a 13-year-old isn't a child. To them, a 13-year-old is an old man.
It could be the case. It could very much logically be the case, because if society determines that to be, then it would be. That's the problem with the argument of saying social constructs in and of itself are valid if it's just our preference or at the same time how we feel about it. If it is one society versus another society...
John, I just want to ask you a quick question. Are you going to stop paying your rent this month?
Am I going to stop paying my rent? I already own my location.
Oh, okay. Are you going to not pay your property taxes this year? Or are you going to stop paying your electric bill?
Yeah, I don't have property tax.
That's interesting.
See, the thing is that you're not listening. I asked an additional question. Are you going to stop paying your electric bill?
Electric? See, that's an agreement between me and another business where we have like a mutual understanding and I will give some type of need for them to be able to have it.
Would you say that it's constructed? Would you say that it's a social agreement that is constructed between the two of you?
Yeah, I would say it's a contract. Yeah, I would say it's a contract between the two of us.
Which is socially constructed.
I'm done.
Legal ding dong. Like, I can't. This guy would fail the Thomas the Tank Engine example so hard. We were in, like, one system uses inches and the other system uses centimeters, and he still couldn't wrap his head around it. Thomas the Tank Engine was too advanced to bring into this scenario.
Yeah.
We couldn't even get to the transphobia because he couldn't understand socially constructed relationships in systems.
That was a lot of fun, though, honestly.
It was very fun. Like, that guy, like, oh man, we didn't even get into the fact that the law is socially constructed, but like that would be way too advanced for this guy.
Yeah, that was wild. Today overall, we had some good clips today. We still got one more person on the line. We are going to take their call. I'm just decompressing for a second. And then we're going to head into our super chats portion. So now is the perfect time, if you haven't already, to get your super chats in. If it's $5 or more, we read those, and you can hashtag vote, hashtag Team Luxander or hashtag Team Jack. And whoever loses has to defend a silly position. Was there any question of what the silly position was? No, it's going to be trad wives or gender extremists, which is very, very funny. So yeah, the loser has to defend that silly position. Yeah, and don't forget to catch all of our other amazing shows next week on The Line and on Jimmy Snow and The Line. And also The Line has a podcast, and also Jimmy's doing a woodworking channel now. Yeah, so all kinds of fun stuff. All right, are we ready?
Yeah, one last comment. I think John might have been a libertarian. You know, I got a little bit of that that vibe, especially with the direction he was going with his age conversation.
Yeah, that is that's tough. That's why he can only ponder the moral quandary of the age distinction, is because he's got some immoral things that he wants to do. Okay, we're gonna really quickly take Cassie, she, her pronouns, from Kentucky, who wants to ask for advice on transition and coming out. Cassie, you're live on the line with Luxander and Riverboat Jack. How's it going?
I guess it's going good. I mean, I'm a little nervous.
It's all good.
Understandable.
So, I guess my main thing is I figured myself out March of last year, and I moved in with my dad in June, and I want to come out to my dad, but I don't exactly know how to approach it. Like,
I always tell people to write a letter or an email. Like, if you put it in an email or a letter, then you don't have to deal with their immediate reaction, and you get plenty of time to think of everything that you want to include. It gives them time to process it on their own, and then they can come to you when they're ready. It prevents the problem of like them having a knee-jerk reaction. As far as what you say, obviously that's highly dependent on your situation. And even whether it's a good idea to come out is dependent on the situation. Like, are you reliant on this person for any kind of financial support? You know, obviously that would influence like whether you are safe in coming out.
Like, I'm not sure how to approach it, because his position on trans people is as long as you don't make it a problem for him. And I don't understand how that would work exactly, but if you don't make it a problem for him, then he has no issues with it.
Yeah, that does sound like frustratingly nebulous in a way. Yeah. Like, when you're...
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, you do you as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Okay, I mean, I feel like that's, you can work with that, you know. I thought that, you know, if you don't make it a problem for him meant like, as long as you don't expect me to do anything, like as long as you don't expect me to use the correct words or whatever, which could be the case that he's going to be resistant about that. But yeah, I mean, you know, just explain like, hey, this isn't a feeling that I have. I think I would be happier if I did this, that, and the other. You know, I still love you very much and I want to be part of your life. Because that's the thing, is you got to keep the relationship at the center of this whole conversation. You know, that you're like, I'm not trying to spite you. You know, I'm not trying to cause problems at the family reunion or anything. You know, I'm just trying to be honest with you and preserve the relationship. And, you know, if I didn't care about loving you or how I felt about you, then I would just do this and never tell you. But I care about having you in my life, so I'm trying to loop you in. You know, some people even get their parents involved with like helping choose their name or choosing their middle name, maybe, so that their parents are still like giving them the gift of the name. So that, you know, there's like ways that you can involve your dad that are like, I'm trying to be constructive about keeping you in my life.
Yeah. It is very difficult to come out, especially to parents and family. And I did it in person after agonizing about it for years. I would recommend Lux's method. Like, write down your feelings. And I would actually say write down all of your feelings. Like, write down all of it, and then write a second one that is concise and that you edit. but like have one where you just write down everything you're worried about, everything that you feel, like just to get it all out there, and then you can edit it down into the one you actually send or give. And then like maybe you can schedule time to be at like a friend's house for a few days or something. Give them time and space to work with. And that can help a lot.
Yeah, I might try that approach. I haven't thought of that one. I've been a hot mess for the last year trying to figure out things and all that.
Yeah. I would also like if you can, finding like a supportive therapist to talk to about the coming out process, or to be a support system for you, can be a really invaluable tool to just have someone have your back throughout the coming out process. Can be really, really helpful. And depending on your financial situation, your insurance situation, you might be able to get that you might be able to find someone like that for relatively cheap.
Mm-hmm.
That might be on the harder side. Our financial situation's a little bad.
Yeah.
But, well, that means that you qualify for sliding scale stuff. That's the thing. If you're like, I'm doing poorly financially, that means that you probably qualify for some kind of help or sliding scale. Like I did a lot of my mental health services at sliding scale. So it's like, oh, based on your income, it's only $15 per session or whatever. So that's, just saying, keep your options open, and Planned Parenthood might even be able to direct you to some affordable like mental health options. Or if you just like, looking for like community mental health clinic, like those tend to be the kind that are like, sliding scale, or maybe even operating off of grants if you can apply for a grant that basically covers a certain amount of your care through charitable donations. But yeah, just, it's good to have therapy when you're going through the process, kind of regardless. I mean, I think everybody should do at least some amount of therapy, just to have training on how to emotionally regulate yourselves. But yeah, especially if you're like, I'm having familial difficulties and I'm having trouble figuring out my transition, that kind of thing is going to be super valuable, as well as finding like support groups. I know you're in Kentucky, so it might be kind of difficult to find them offline, but that's my biggest recommendation. If there's like an LGBTQ center anywhere near you, to get involved, or, you could sign up for one class at the community college, and maybe the community college has a group. So there's all kinds of resources, and I would encourage you to reach out and get some community around you too.
Yeah, I'd second the LGBTQ centers. A lot of, large or even moderately sized cities have one, at least, even in Kentucky. And they can be good hubs, even if they can't set you up directly with a therapist. They often do have like support groups, because a lot of you are not alone, I think, is an important thing to add in here. A lot of other folks are in the exact same situation, are struggling with a lot of the same feelings. And I know that it can be really easy to get lost and bogged down in all of that and feel like you're on your own, like you're completely isolated. But I swear you're not. There are other people going through this, and honestly, just even if you just attend digitally support groups or therapy, it can really help.
Yep.
Do you know any good resources for like looking into groups like that?
Planned Parenthood is an excellent place to start. They usually do have connections with other LGBTQ centers in different areas. Their website might even have resources directing you to different local areas, or different local places.
Someone in the chat said to look up family health centers in Kentucky. I don't know what exactly that is, but is a recommendation from chat. So, but yeah, I would just start Googling like LGBTQ center and then your city in Kentucky, or the nearest city in Kentucky or something. So.
Okay. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah.
This stuff's been really stressful, and I've been trying to figure out how to approach a lot of this, and it's all really new and, I'll admit, rather terrifying.
Yeah. It
Understandable.
gets
Especially with the current climate.
Sure. There are a bunch of different places that are there to help you and get you the resources you need, and like, even if they might not have something specific to what you need, you might be able to call them up and like ask them, because the people who work at these places, they want to help folks like you.
Yeah. Well, Cassie, we gave you a lot of information to look into today. But we are happy to have you call back again if you have any further questions, or just to give us a little status update and let us know how things are going. But yeah, get that community around you, get that support going at the same time as you're seeking care and everything. Because like, you definitely want, if things go badly with your parents, which I'm not saying they will, but if the worst should happen, you need some other kind of support to bounce back into. You need like a trampoline underneath you when you're taking this jump. And that trampoline is going to be like social support and friends, both online and offline, or through Zoom, or, you know, if you have a local pride, they probably have a bunch of organizations that participate in the pride, and you can check the website and be like, here's all the organizations that sponsored Pride last year, or who had a table at Pride. So there is certainly a lot for you to look into, and you know, lots of different. I know there's like a queer hiking group in Portland near where I live, so even if it's not something focused on queer activism, there are areas where like these things overlap with other hobbies. So I would definitely encourage you to just, you know, have as much of a social life outside of your family and outside of the home as you possibly can.
And also remember, people in this community got your back. Like, I'm seeing a lot of love pouring out for you in the chat right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to move along the show to the end portion here, Cassie, but thank you so much for calling. I hope that we've helped you a little bit, and, you know, I hope you have the best of luck with pursuing your transition. It's a tough time, and you're very brave for doing it.
Thank you again. Yeah, you all have a good day.
You too.
You too.
Bye.
Okay, that's the end of the calls portion of the show. That was Calling Studio. Beep boop, indeed. So now is the part of the show where you can get your super chats of $5 or more in, and we will read them in the order in which they come to us. You can vote hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Jack, and whoever loses that competition has to defend the position, the funny position that, trad wives are gender extremists. That is the position that we're having to defend today. So we are starting with $5 from Bramley, who says, hell yeah, the year 12,026, hashtag Team Lux. Yeah, it makes perfect sense for the human history. And I think we should just do it.
Hell yeah. Thank you for the $4.99 from Balthazar228. Shouldn't they just be G-rated if trans kids know they're trans from a young age? True.
Exactly. What we're saying.
Rated T for trans.
Yes. Thanks for the $5 from Pip, who says, remember, we are all just brains piloting a mech suit of flesh and bone. Everyone's interaction with the outside world begins in the mind. Hashtag Team Lux. That guy seemed so confused because he was giving the two opposite. He was like, I think the mind is part of the body. And also it's wrong for you to say that everything about the mind originates in the brain. Like, okay, I don't understand.
Yeah,
weird.
It felt like he'd shifted his argument like halfway through. I was very confused.
Oh no, sorry.
Oh no.
My shortcut keys for the what? Wait, hold on. Everything's going so wrong all of a sudden.
Is the stream gone? No.
Okay. Oh, they put that up as an overlay. Wait, no, it needs. Why is the scoreboard not working?
No.
I don't want to have to do it manually. It's so annoying.
No.
Dag nabbit. All right, whatever.
This is what we get when we try to update our software stuff on the back end. It's a clusterfuck. Thank you for 20 bucks from Narcissa, who says, Cameron, I wish you and people like you had the ability to recognize your intellectual shortcomings and could understand what, based on your ignorance, you are in no position to make policy around real living people. True. Yeah, it was definitely one of those like, oh, are you a dumb person who thinks you're smart? Are we Dunning-Kruger right now? I kind of think that maybe that might have been what was going on.
There was just something not fully clicking there, and I don't know what it was.
God bless him.
Sorry, Vamp, for a hot second, because I think I can fix this to make this. Spending a few seconds here will save it in the long run. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, that's what's important.
I'm still stuck on that guy who thought that time stopped existing without a human mind to comprehend it. Like, what
we didn't circle it around to the tree in the forest, but it's like, sound is a physical property that exists regardless of whether, I guess you could make like an argument that like sound waves are distinct from like the word sound, meaning like what we hear. Like, I don't know, like noise, I guess, is like another word that's like, that's what we perceive. So I don't know if he was gonna run down one of those where it's like, well, time is time because we called it time.
He got really bitchy about like me implying that he might be be doing a solipsism, but like solipsism, but I don't know. He was half cooking something.
Yeah. Don't know what was going on with him.
I got it work. Also, it was funny because when he was like, that's not how you say it, he said it wrong himself, literally. So I'm like, you dumbass, arrogant turd.
Yeah, he was in the arrogance tone of voice the whole conversation. Like, yes, at some point we started being like, are you just not capable of understanding? But he did start off the whole thing by being like, the up talk and the and like and let me explain it. Like, I don't know why, but someone in the in my Discord server was like, this person has activated the jock instinct in me. Like, that's pretty funny.
This might be a really deep cut. He sounded like Aaron Hansen from Game Grumps doing his like nostalgia critic impersonation, just like, this is a bunch of poopy diaper butts. Yeah, and it was just like that it was that tone the entire goddamn time.
Yeah. Anyway, this is $20 from Narcissa. Thank you. Who says from Cameron's journal, week 1, solve moonshine prices. Week 2, clear up gender issues. Truly.
I saw that in real time and I thought that was really fucking funny. Thank you for the $5 from Catalina Gearbox. Lux, you don't understand. The right thinks and the left protest is a riot.
Yeah. That's true. Oh yeah. Like I'm suggesting that we should peacefully protest, but they're like, no, that's rioting. You're inherently doing a violence by blocking the roads. Like, okay, you're right. They're gonna get me on the terrorism charges. That's why I don't go to fucking protests.
Wait, is it? Yeah, no, wait, it's you.
Is it me? $100. That's an extremely generous $100. Thank you so much from Sleepnear, who says, love the show. Trans NB person from North Carolina working in agricultural biotech. These live streams get me through my workday. Would love an in-person TACIS/line event. This show is a bastion of rationality and emotional intelligence in the face of this administration. # Team Jack. We're working on it. Guess what? If you go to patreon.com/calltheline and become a member at any level, even if you just pitch us $1, that is going to help us get to eventually having an in-person LineCon. We do LineCon online once a month on Patreon for $15 on Patreon, gets you a ticket to that event. We do usually every third Saturday. But if you want LineCon in person, Patreon is the answer. We get to like 2,000 paid patrons, and then we're going to start working on the planning of doing an in-person con. So good stuff. Yeah.
Thank you for the $5 from Baby Bunny 1982. Missed y'all last week. Glad to see you back. Always a pleasure listening to TACIS. Thank you for being here. Love hearing Jack defend #Lux.
Thank you for $10 from Selk, who says trans rights are human rights. True. Thank you.
Thank you for the 1,000 something from Frosty Synad. Wait, Frosty Synadude 7. A man of God is a man of necessity. All bases are belong to us. Here's $10. Hell yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for $5 from Alm, who says, hi, smiley face, hashtag Team Lux. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the $10 Canadian from David Haxor. Hashtag Team Ben 10. I mean, Team Lux. Let's do it.
That was a fun stream. He just did hashtag Team Ben and then 1, and then hashtag Team Ben 2, and it was just $5 donations coming in to stack the votes. And then I was like, we're gonna get to Ben 10 eventually, like the TV show.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for the $9.99 from Balthazar, who says, Jack forgot the whole cool video game sidetrack to her last stream. Support Mina the Hollower at the end of this month. Link's Awakening inspired game from Yacht Club Games, the Shovel Knight devs.
Hell
Ooh.
yeah.
Okay.
It looks really cool. And the music bops.
That was so confusing because my cat's name is Mina. I was like, what is going on?
Thank you for the $5 from Alma LM. The Alma 38. Nailed it. Wait, this idiot didn't get Gijur right? Lol. Hashtag Team Jendi Bendy. Don't know who is that.
Yeah.
Is that a Team Lux?
That's Team Me.
Okay.
I feel like it has to be, right?
Sure. Yeah, that guy called in with Caesar pronouns, but I don't feel compelled to, we don't have to be naive, right? We respect pronouns, but we don't have to be fucking idiots if somebody's coming in to be an asshole and a troll and using pronouns like that to try to make a point. I don't gotta respect a ding-dong's bull crap.
The screeners will get your ass.
Arden's got some strong words today.
That poopy butthead.
Gonna be talking about baloney soon.
Yeah. Thank you for $5 from Trinket, who says, not all social constructs work the same, John. Stop trying to find a way to make dating teenagers. It's creepy. Hashtag Team Lux. True. He wants to do some morally questionable things. The only explanation.
Thank you for the $5 from Squirrel Knitter. Teeth were once currency, so is salt. True.
That's so true. A salary.
So were cowrie shells.
Thank you for 5 Canadian from David Haxor, who says, donates 2.6 pounds of Canadian pennies. Hashtag Team Lux. True. I'm not going to count them.
Ooh, you are running away with it today.
Yeah, it's rough. I was going to say it's because I was gone last week, but we were all gone last week.
It's true.
Everybody's just like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're back. I missed you.
Thank you for the $5 from Agents Miskatonic. Hello. Oh wait, there's no hello there. I like the idea of John going to a store and trying to pay with the bottle caps like in Fallout.
True. Yeah.
Well, hypothetically, you could do that. Someone might accept bottle caps. What's the monetary value of the metal in the bottle caps? Perhaps you could melt it down, and then it would actually be worth more money. Have you ever thought of that?
Is that logically consistent?
Can you prove to me that someone wouldn't be as big of a Fallout fan to accept that as currency?
True.
God.
Thank you for $5 from Majora's Casket, who says, wait, what the fuck? Why can't I pay for this with my pocket lint? Hashtag Team Jack. True.
Oh.
I was listening to a podcast because we were on the road for like 50 something hours, 54 hours, I think, total or something like that. And we watched a podcast about how like you're not supposed to make counterfeit money. And it's especially, you're not supposed to like exchange it for goods and services. But hypothetically, if an artist created a rendering of $100 bill and walked into a place and was like, this is a drawing, but would you allow me to buy $100 worth of stuff and give you this? Like, does it have the $100 value to you? And you could barter that artistically drawn bill, hypothetically. So like, yeah, bartering is also a social construct. I'm not going to scream. Not going to scream.
Thank you for the $5 Canadian from Where is Waldo? Money is preference based. Cool. I prefer that my money is worth 1 billion times what John's money is worth. Fucking dipshit.
Yeah. And he tried to weasel out of the like, are you going to stop paying your bills because money is a social construct and you don't respect it? Like, dumb fucking asshole. Thank you for $10 from Green31 OSU. What university is that? Is that Oklahoma? John doesn't understand what a unit conversion is. Philbro smug superiority always belies a fundamental lack of real intelligence. That's amen.
True. It was like that guy went to like one like college philosophy course and then never went back again.
Yeah.
Almost all Philbro arguments come down to what he was doing too, which is it's logically impossible and you can't prove a negative. Therefore, what I'm saying is real and should be accepted as like just a factual thing.
Yeah. Very cringe.
So it gets you into such a silly, like, I don't understand how they think that makes them look good. I genuinely don't get it. Like, anyone who's ever gone into a store and bought something knows that's absolutely bullshit.
But that's whatever. Anecdotal. How dare you bring up your lived experience as though it counts as evidence, because we haven't done any studies, no longitudinal studies on whether stores take non-US currency or something. Anyway, Jesus
that's right. Where's the meta-analysis?
Yeah.
Thank you for the $10 from Beautiful Midnight Rose. In South Korea, they still age by the year. They just all turn a year older on the first day of the calendar year. They don't skip birthdays or choose to stop aging to be younger. That is, by the way, why I wanted to like pivot to imperial versus metric, because I'm aware of the like different measurement systems in that case. And I think most people are. I have no idea what the calendar used in South Korea is, and like that makes a whole lot of sense to me. But
it's like The Giver, the book The Giver, where they're born at different times, but they all turn the next age on the same day, and in like a big ceremony or whatever. So that's cool. I didn't know that about Korea. That's a fun thing that I learned today. Thank you for the $4.99 from the Sage Sama, who says, is John unaware that on the dollar bill it says legal tender? Yeah, honestly.
Thank you for the $10 from Mira Featherbender. When I lived in South Korea, I had to exchange my dollars for won. When I made purchases, I had to mentally think of it converted to dollars to conceive of the relative expense. Context, #redheads rule.
Also, I just want to let you guys know we still have quite a few super chats to get through, and we're at 8 minutes to the hour, so we probably got to burn through these pretty fast.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your generous donations today, by the way, that you're putting us on the hot seat here at the end. $5 from Burning Sock, who says, I'm so sorry you two, the prototype John's broke containment. #Team Jack. It's your fault.
Thank you for the $5 from Taco Cat 225. John is the human personification of actually, with smugness turned up to 11 and factuality turned down to -1. #Team Lex.
True. Thank you for $10 from Skeptical Cryptid, who says, I wanted to ask John if time existed for the dinosaurs, but I realized he probably thinks dinosaurs aren't real. I'm getting young Earth creationist vibes. Love you guys. True.
Thank you for the $20. Very generous from William Mates, 1991. Please remove John with an extreme fark-off if you do wish.
Yeah, we weren't doing that thing today where sometimes it's like $20 and we'll kick the collar after 20 minutes. That's Javon's thing. Thank you for $10 from Shiny Happy Demon, who says intelligence maxing hosts viciously reality mog Philbro John, making Zir script useless and embarrassing Zim. True. Yeah, let's use intelligence maxing in our titles.
Thank you for the $10 from Beaker Squeakers. Have 5 virtual social constructs and another 5 to make up for no TACIS last week. There's more where that came from. If you never take another John call, lol. #Team Mina the Queena. Otherwise, #Team Loser.
I'm not going to be able to get her and have it be in enough time. $5 from One-Eyed Weirdo. I propose we do a little trombone champion because it'd make more sense than John. #Team Riverboat Jack. Blah.
Blah.
Indeed.
Thank you for the $5 from William Mates, 1991. #Team Lux. #NBs Unite.
True.
We can't let them do that. They'll become too powerful.
We're going to become a terrorism group. Thank you for $5 from Green31 OSU, who says, the fact that the Philbro quite literally said that leads to a slippery slope, directly engaging in the fallacy by name. Amazing. Yeah, truly.
I put it on the screen briefly.
Yeah, it cracked me up. I saw.
Thank you for the $5 from JAU2093. John is a whiny B word. LOL. Hashtag Team Jack. I'll say it. John was a whiny bitch.
Yeah, that's true. Are you baby?
Baby.
Thank you for $10 from Lord Byron. Appreciate you. Says this physicist felt personally trolled by that libertarian. Hashtag Team Lux. Hashtag love you too, Jack. Yeah. Are you Mina?
Thank you for the $5 from Joshua Everett 9887. Work is keeping me super busy for a Thursday. I appreciate everything you do this week. It's Rolls Dice, hashtag Team Lux, hashtag Team Whores, hashtag Team Neververts.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for $5 from Domestic. Have you ever seen the movie Doctor Strangelove? I believe it's timely. Hashtag Team Lux. I have not. I need to catch up on a lot of these old movies.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Precious bodily fluids. Thank you for the $10 dono from Rev Repeat. Thanks for TACIS. All of the hosts have done fantastic work on educating listeners like myself. What are some of your favorite books on the trans topic? Ooh, I would have to think about that.
I mean, I have some books on my shelf. I don't know that they're necessary. I mean, it's like a lot of the books on trans stuff is like people's autobiographies. So it's like, yeah, you can read Jennifer Boylan's book about like what it's like to be trans, or like I've Detransition Baby, and I have like Transgender Warriors by fucking Leslie Feynman, I think is her name.
Trans History, Susan Stryker, Whipping Girl, Julia Serrano, Very Queer and Pleasant Danger, Kate Bornstein.
I mean, I really like Captive Genders. It's a book about like the trans experience with like the prison industrial complex and policing. It's really good. It goes kind of through the history of like the criminalization of trans people and like kind of the activist struggle to kind of be free. It's very good.
Mm-hmm. Also, Judith Butler just as a whole.
Is this you? For me?
I don't know. $5 from Trinket, who says, met my favorite singer, Loams Oleander, at a show last night. She not only signed my shirt, but gave me a hug. Hearts, hearts, hearts.
Hell
hashtag
yeah.
Team Lux. That's fucking cool.
Thank you for the $5 from Rebecca Page. MAGA is just 21st century Confederates screaming the South will rise again. Hashtag Team Lux. Hard to argue that when you see them overturn the Voting Rights Act.
Mm-hmm. $5 from Don't Know Jack says John was doing the voice Gillian does in Family Guy and made me irrationally feral. Fair.
Thank you for the $5 from Domestic 6332. Logically, which is better, eternal happiness or a ham sandwich? Hashtag Team Lux. Aren't they the same thing? Really?
Mm-hmm. Eternal. I live in this moment forever.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for $10 from YouTuber Grudge, who says, imagine not understanding what a social construct is and then calling everything that isn't your culture's particular way of expressing things, quote, wrong or, quote, lies. Hashtag Team Jack. Yeah, truly.
Yeah. Thank you for the $10 of New Zealand dollary dues from Mountain Eucalyptus 12026HE. If enough of us use it, then we can update the calendar social construct. Good luck, Cassie. For me, writing out what I wanted to say first helped when I was coming out to my people. Hashtag Team Jack.
True.
It's an excellent coming out hack.
Yeah. Thank you for $5 from One-Eyed Weirdo. Hashtag Team Jack messed up my tag. I hate shitter. True.
Thank you for the $4.99 from Bramley CX. Should I buy bubble tea? If yes, hashtag Team Lux. If no, hashtag Team Jack. I think you should. It's delicious.
That's the answer is always yes, buy bubble tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Is this me? I'm losing my fucking mind. It's that time of the stream where I'm like, oh god, I have to do the other thing next. $10 from Haha Myth Lewis, who says, everyone on TACIS, thank you for all you do, but also hashtag Team Jack. True.
Thanks. Thank you for the $10 from Narcissa 800. I still don't get all the bases are belong to us, but it's somehow funny. I'm really old. It's a video game thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's silly translation.
Thank you for 5 Canadian from David Haxor with a hashtag Team Jack.
Finally in the double digits. Let's go. Thank you for the $5 from Fire in the Forest, hashtag Team Lux, NB Unite, nap time now, heart.
You're going to miss the politics show. Stay on. It's me and Jimmy. It was going to be Jovan, but now it's Jimmy. Me and Jimmy next on Calling It Now. $5 from Baby Bunny. I swear it sounded like the first guy said that we get surgery to trick our brain into believing what we want. Maybe I misheard. I have no fucking idea what he was on about.
Yeah, he was not holding a consistent position.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the $5 from Green Garbador. It is logically possible that this donation will cause TACIS to last another 3 hours. Therefore, I am right about everything. Hashtag Team Lux.
Exactly. Undeniable. Thank you for 50 PLN from Joan, who says, John, forgot his name, would lose it if you mentioned the concept of dog years to him. Did I? Yeah.
You did.
I did.
You literally did.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Thank you for the $5 Canadian from David Haxor.
Just a bunch from David Haxor. Thank you.
David Haxor hacking the system.
No.
I don't know if these count. Maybe they do. Thank you for the $5 from Random Biffication. Hashtag Team Jack because of the steam conveyance comment that had me dying. I'm glad.
Thank you for $5 from Sleep Near. Hashtag Team Jack Hearts.
Thank you for the $5 from Spades Wolf. The irony is that John's stupidity can be used as a currency. Look at all these super chats. True. $5
from Sleep Near. Trans Flag. Thank you.
Thank you for the $5 Canadian from David Haxor. Hashtag Team Jack.
Keeping them flowing. Ooh, barely.
Almost squeaked by. But my hat's off to you.
It's okay. I'm a veteran.
Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to make sure that the other team knows what's going on and get everything done here. Okay. Are you ready, Lux? Or no, Jack's defending.
It's Jack. You have to defend the idea that trad wives are gender extremists.
Okay, charging up the clock. And 3, 2, 1, go.
So when you think about gender, when you think about women, when you think about the performance of womanhood, what do you think of? That's right. You think of trad wives, 1950s, dresses, heels, or rather, the lack thereof. You think of shackles around the ankle. You think of warm, baked pumpkin or apple pie. You think of people coming by, stealing pies off of windowsills and cackling. You think of, the 1950s experience, which, as we all know, is personified in the Fallout series. And what we really all know is at the end of the day, trad wives, their number one priority is actually performing womanhood. It is performing the specific version of womanhood from the 1950s when they weren't allowed to have bank accounts. Now, of course, this is merely a performance. It isn't actually who they are in reality because they aren't fully embodying that performance by not having bank accounts. In fact, most of these people who are trad wives on the internet are actually very much extraordinary, extreme performers because they have fooled millions of people into believing that they are, barefoot. They are doing it all. They're having, no job, no responsibilities other than staying home, cooking for their man, and tending those ever rascally scamps of children. And you know what? It's a facade. It's not real. Okay? They are actually going above and beyond, creating a hyper version of gender. They are hyper genders. They have actually gone beyond plus ultra. They have become something that never even really existed, even in the time period that they are aiming to copy from. They are, in fact, the ultimate gender extremists.
Well argued.
Thank you.
Argued. Thanks, everybody, so much for hanging out with us. Stick around in the chat to get sent over to Calling It Now with myself and Jimmy Snow. Go to our patreon.com/calltheline in order to support the show to help us get to LineCon eventually someday. And don't forget, coming up on Saturday, May 16, we have our big Recovering from Religion fundraiser that we're doing, and you can already donate on our channel to that. So do it. Thank you. Bye. Love you.
Bye.
I just realized I haven't set up the automatic switch, so we're gonna hang on for an extra fucking second.
Oh yeah,
so
we need the redirect.
Yeah,
got to be redirected to the Jimmy Snow Show, where we're gonna talk about politics.
Okay, hold on. We're almost there. I got one of them.
Redirecting.
Because now I have to do 2 at a time. Oh my god. Okay, here we go. All right, get out of here. Bye.
Okay, bye. Love you. Bye.